The tranquil lake suddenly erupted with the sound of breaking water. A lone figure climbed out from inside the lake. That really was dangerous. Su Xing shook his head vigorously, using his star energy to evaporate the water clinging to his entire body. He sat upon a rock panting, while he sized up the surrounding environment. There did not appear to be anyone else, but in an area not too far away, there were several fallen corpses. It seemed that a battle previously took place here. Su Xing turned his head back to look at the lake. His own thinking was not wrong. The Flower Dragon Cave's lakes were all interconnected with one another. Fortunately, this was what let him break away from Cultivator Wu. Otherwise, the outcome from facing an entire group of Nebula stage cultivators encircling him would have been unpleasant. At the same time, it was not as if he did not gain any rewards this time. Su Xing's lips carried a smile as he brought out a blue astral bag. When he charged that blue-clothed youth, he used the sword to stab him to divert his attention, and taking advantage of that, he snatched away this bag more easily than he had imagined it would be. Su Xing mobilized his divine intent, opening the astral bag. Time to see just what kind of toys were inside this Nebula late-stage cultivator's bag. A copy of Water Droplet True Technique, a Heavenly Water School flying sword, and a set of what seemed to be eagle talon chains. 2. An intermediate-grade artifact, known as Shark Claw Hook. 3. And a high-grade artifact Shark Scale Shield. More than 300 Icebreak Talismans. 5. A single Water Escape Divine Talisman. 6. More than 6,000 liang of gold. 2 bottles of Returned Spirit Liquid 7, that could restore a bit of magic energy. Some supplementary pills, odd refining. Utensils used to concoct pills out of materials that were not few in number, as well as 12 Thunder Water Flowers. It seemed the Heavenly Water Sword School gave a share of the Thunder Water Flowers they plucked to him for safekeeping. But that let Su Xing take a big score for cheap. Apart from this, there was still a transparent bottle half filled with transparent, what looked to be water droplets. These droplets were very odd. They were obviously a liquid, but they were also single, separate droplets linked together like frog eggs. Somewhat disgusting. Sniffing it, it did not seem to be a wonder drug, but rather something like what that blue-clothed youth spat out. Fighting against the blooming water demonic python, and the Heavenly River Sword Schools, that one person wasted a large portion of Su Xing's star energy. But it was just the right moment to use that bottle of Returned Spirit Liquid to replenish his power. Tidying up a bit, Su Xing soon afterwards set out towards the Flower Dragon Pond in a hurry. After some period of time, and experiencing the twists and turns of a daunting experience, without a major mishap, he arrived at Flower Dragon Pond. Su Xing's person was not carrying an additional 2 astral bags and 8 more Thunder Water Flowers. These were all offerings from a few careless cultivators he encountered along the road. Su Xing did not feel like dealing with nonsense. Regardless of gender or age, those that obviously evilly moved a hand against him were sent back to meet their maker. 8 directly and cleanly turned to dust. More than 20 Thunder Water Flowers in addition to a Thunder Water Flower Snake Crown. The Su Xing who had originally thought he would never seize these things had a harvest that was nevertheless far greater than anyone else's. Arriving at the Flower Dragon Pond, Su Xing saw a graceful white figure. Gong Kaiwei sat beside the lake, her outstretched hand playing idly with a small white flower to pass the time. At first glance, she looked like a woman waiting to rendezvous with her sweetheart. Su Xing said to himself that this immortal hero princess could really be sensual. But would it not be her own fault for being treated as a target, standing at the center of the Flower Dragon Pond like that? Su Xing wrinkled his brow, tempted to see just what sort of skills Gong Kaiwei had, disappearing to the side. Not a moment later, 5, 6 cultivators discovered the eye-catching figure of that beauty. Not saying much of anything, they went directly to killing. Flying swords, flying daggers, and any flying artifact that could attack all without exception took flight. The moment the small white flower in Gong Kaiwei's hand broke into pieces, that beautiful figure swayed only slightly, dodging the artifact's attacks. Tracing snow in hand, it brandished a wide snowy light. The attacking artifacts were then all cut down. Careful, it's Snow Soul Sword Arts. She's from the Heavenly Ice Sacred Palace, a military cultivator. A cultivator that saw clearly cried out loud. Cultivators could be split into two types, artifact cultivators and military cultivators, not unlike Maiden Mountain Star Maidens. The so-called military cultivators could also be called sword cultivators, and they were skilled with cold military weapons, fighting using close combat arts. These cultivators often chased after the sublime, a sword in hand, at the top of the world, 9 Sword of Spirit. Liangshan continent had many varieties of sword schools, and the Blooming Water Sword Sect and the Heavenly River Sword School were both part of the same type. Of course, if sword cultivators really wanted to succeed in surmounting their limits, it was necessary for them to use everything they had. So most of the time, sword cultivators were also focused on using artifacts. The cultivators promptly called their swords, and their flying swords moved violently around Gong Saiwei's whole body. Tens of talismans were thrown out one by one, every kind of brilliant light swirling about her. Su Xing was considering if he should or should not intervene. A faint, disdaining snort sounded out. Gong Saiwei's eyes carried an expression of derision. She approached with light steps, her posture lightly revolving, tracing snow issuing a ray of cold light. A cultivator that was not defending was closed in on, and afterwards, by the time he reacted, he was already cut down by a sword. Sword wind condenses frost. 10 The flower dragon pond's ambient temperature plummeted, the water's surface froze over, and tracing snow fired a powerful intent that shook the attacking artifacts. Right after, the sword tip flew out from within Gong Saiwei's hand, drawing a circle in midair. This was the immortal hero princess' last extraordinary sword power. The cultivators collapsed, eyes wide open. For a time, the atmosphere was cold, as if a northerly wind had passed through. You've arrived much too late, Gong Kaiwei said softly. Su Xing walked out from the rock face, lightly laughing. As expected, these nebula early-stage cultivators could not bring any sort of trouble to Gong Kaiwei. This woman was quite troublesome. Seeing as how you were thoroughly enjoying yourself, I did not wish to bother you. Su Xing glanced at the corpses beneath him. Their necks had traces of frozen blood. This was a fatal wound. Gong Kaiwei was smiling, yet she was not. Then can we leave? The flower dragon cave is almost about to disappear. Su Xing nodded, asking, where is that heavenly star for bid dance? Gong Saiwei's expression briefly indicated towards the flower dragon pond. Gong Kaiwei first used her divine intent to conduct a sweep on the surrounding 100 meters in order to avoid others disturbing herself. After seeing no one was around, she and Su Xing took their positions. Following her commands, Su Xing complied, moving his divine intent. The astral crest upon his forehead slowly glowed brighter and brighter. Gong Saiwei's spotlessly white forehead also showed a gorgeous astral crest. The two each recited Go, and their own astral crests and divine intents entered the flower dragon lake. The tranquil lake waters began to ripple and crash violently. The waters turned from a light blue to a dark blue color. Su Xing saw incorporeal objects seemingly disappear from sight, and asking what they should do next. Gong Kaiwei was then like a mermaid, leaping in a beautiful arc into the lake water. Su Xing jumped down after her without doubt. Just at the moment he jumped into the lake water, the water immediately disappeared. Su Xing's legs then stepped onto a stone slab. The surroundings were an immense hall, with its interior brightly lit with fire. It was completely different from the flower dragon cave. Su Xing had no way of believing this for a moment, for this felt like he just time traveled. Turning his head around, he saw Gong Kaiwei. The girl's body was thoroughly drenched, peerlessly beautiful. 11 The white cloth soaked by water revealed the skin beneath it, her milky white undergarments also faintly visible. 12 With her fine black hair dripping water, her brow wet with dew, she was just beautiful, absolutely too beautiful. Look any further, and I'll gouge those dog eyes, Gong Kaiwei said indignantly. It did not occur to her that she would actually touch water when she jumped down. Raising her hand, her body emanated a watery mist, and the water all over her body evaporated away. Su Xing clicked his tongue, feeling considerable pity about the image of a beauty exiting the bath. A magic energy rolled by, and Su Xing promptly evaded. Seeing Gong Kaiwei was somewhat resentful, he changed the subject. Where is this? Flower Dragon Hall. Gong Kaiwei spat out these words, a strange fervor within her eyes. 1. Right arrow curving left 2. Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Right arrow curving left 5. Right arrow curving left 6. Right arrow curving left 7. Right arrow curving left 8. Right arrow curving left 9. Right arrow curving left 10. Right arrow curving left 11. Right arrow curving left 12. By the way, in the coming chapters, you will see much more of Lenny-san in the future. Degree. The main hall was very wide, with not a thing in sight. At one end was a cold pool, but apart from this, the Flower Dragon Hall had absolutely nothing. Gong Kaiwei walked hastily towards the pool. Su Xing watched her, doubting whether the true blooming water divine thunder was just a pretense to get his help in undoing the forbid dance. The issue at hand was that whoever laid down this forbid dance should also have hidden something else. Seeing Su Xing's bewilderment, Gong Kaiwei said, "Do you know why the Flower Dragon Cave would have the blooming water divine thunder?" The newcomer Su Xing was not even clear on the heavenly river and such, so how could he ever know anything about this sort of incredible matter? Although this piece of business had already been investigated beforehand, the published historical records did not have any sort of useful information. "Just give it to me straight," Su Xing said. "Legends say that under this Flower Dragon Cave is hidden an ancient demon beast. Its every breath will spout a sort of black water. After a period of accumulation, this black water will slowly give rise to a strange water thunder flower. And that happens to be the thunder water flower." A teasing smile flicked across a corner of Gong Kaiwei's lips. After a capable person learned of this, he suppressed this demon beast beneath the heavenly river to exploit the properties of this black water. And then he laid down a Mount Meru closed pit forbid dance art. 2. The inside of this forbid dance art allows only nebula stage cultivators to enter, because any higher cultivation will respond to the hidden demon beast, and this was done to prevent them from killing it. Hearing Gong Kaiwei's words, Su Xing felt that this was actually very complicated. "Your meaning is that the blooming water divine thunder are all spat out by that demon beast?" Gong Kaiwei showed a "that was obvious" expression. "So, if you want the true blooming water divine thunder, no other is as good as acquiring that demon beast's correct type of blooming water." Su Xing looked as if he were staring at a monster. "Gong Kaiwei, you're not confused, are you?" Gong Kaiwei stopped moving. Turning her head, her countenance was somewhat displeased. Su Xing did not care for her temper. "You said to acquire that. But isn't this the same as death? You said so already that it is an ancient demon beast, that even the expert that laid down this forbid dance was not able to subdue. You really do have too much confidence in yourself." Are you scared?" Gong Kaiwei gave a mocking smile. 3. Although Su Xing still only knew many of Liangshan continent's things superficially, he still knew of a certain principle. Since this could be called an ancient demon beast, this definitely was not an adorable kitten or puppy. Shouting a couple words at it would be fair enough. And besides, dogs always bit people, let alone a demon beast. An ancient one at that. Even the difficulty level in playing games still needed to increase one by one in order. And only on a certain level does one go kill the boss. Nor was there an idiot wearing common clothing holding a wooden sword loudly challenging a Zuma 5 master. That was not fear but stupidity. Gong Kaiwei was clearly very bright. At least staying with the immortal hero princess at the same time was absolutely not stupid. Seeing her with that carefree attitude, Su Xing frowned. "You must be hiding something that you still haven't told me?" Gong Kaiwei very charmingly smiled. This Gong naturally knows about the might of the ancient demon beast, but according to this Gong's guess, this ancient demon beast has been trapped here for so long that it has already entered its declining years now. Perhaps it has not got much longer to live, as it already cannot be counted as an ancient demon beast. 6. How can you be sure? Su Xing was not reassured. This Gong and Zhu Wu already investigated the events of Flower Dragon Cave, more clearly than the young master by far. From the ever-weakening divine thunders the blooming water sword sect has refined, and the thunder water flowers decreasing in numbers, we knew then that this was already weaker than we had hoped. Now is not the time to wait, yet we are still waiting. merely leaning on the data of these historical materials. Yet she dared to challenge the ancient demon beast. If this woman was not a lunatic, she was a genius. This is your final chance. If the young master wants the blooming water divine thunder, then come together with this gong to fight the ancient demon beast. Gong Kaiwei said flatly. Su Xing cursed silently. He did not believe that Gong Kaiwei lacked a trump card that could kill him, but since she had already said as much, Su Xing had no reason to shrink back in front of a woman. Since we've arrived here, I also want to see what this ancient demon beast looks like. Gong Kaiwei smiled faintly. Then please be careful, young master. Gong Kaiwei stopped where she was, slightly parting her red lips, and read an incantation. The tracing snow sword immediately unsheathed and flew to above the cold pool. With a spiritual power, it revolved in a circle, its edge emitting a cold light. Then, Gong Kaiwei urged on her star energy, and a piece of jade flew out, suspending itself on tracing snow. Subsequently, the cold smoke 7 emitted by tracing snow was completely absorbed. Immediately after, Gong Kaiwei below made a hand seal, and using one finger, a blue light spouted from her hand onto the increasingly cold jade. In an instant, the jade frantically spun faster, its color turning even colder. Along with the jade spinning, the surrounding air temperature also abruptly plummeted to dozens of degrees below 0. 8. Even if he was separated by 100 meters, Su Xing still felt a cold intent. The pool water began to freeze over. Su Xing was freezing and annoyed, but he did not dare relax in the slightest. One hand holding silver blade, the other taking out the shark scale shield, and placing it in front of them, while surreptitiously placing the astral treasure profound star barrier on his stomach. This star treasure slowly accumulated magic energy across more than 10 days, and now had a hint of magic energy. But as for how long it could hold out, Su Xing's heart was very unsure. Seeing that cold reception, Su Xing clicked his tongue. As expected of the immortal hero princess, for that piece of jade perhaps was a supreme-grade nebula stage artifact. You damned animal, even when you're under this gong's cold smoke jade. 9. You refuse to roll yourself out. 10. Gong Kaiwei continued to make 2 more hand seals, and blue light shot violently towards the treasures. That cold smoke jade issued an even more cold light, while the air temperature was starting to freeze the main hall. Under Gong Kaiwei's concentrated effort, the depths of the pond finally exhibited signs of activity. With some place in the pond as its epicenter, the frozen ice sheet on the lake split open a slight crack. The crack spread with the rapid speed of a contagious disease, and the main hall rocked about as if by rippling waves. Even if it still had not appeared, a mighty power was already jolting the entire hall. It was truly unbelievable. Su Xing. Gong Kaiwei's complexion was grim, ignoring how she spoke so self-confidently. When she truly knew that ancient demon beast revealed itself, she was tense from the bottom of her heart. Su Xing said to himself that this was indeed insane, and took out the Thunder Cry sword without the slightest hesitation. A loud bang that shook the world. As the ice shattered, a blue jet of water shot straight up, and the freezing ice immediately dissolved, producing a cold fog within which was a vaguely visible slender shadow. Su Xing and Gong Kaiwei immediately tightened their fingers. The tracing snow and Thunder Cry sword suspended above the lake water together stabbed downward. From within the white of the mist, and the sound of a loud AO. 11 wailing resounded. A sharp shrieking noise passed through the hall, followed closely only by the sound of something collapsing. A water thunder detonated in the air above, and the surrounding whiteness was swept cleanly away. The true identity of the demon beast was then revealed. That was a body dozens of zhang, 12 long. It was a dark and scaleless, bizarre snake somewhat resembling the blooming water python he encountered earlier. But the difference was that this strange snake's head was like a snake's, yet not like one's. Upon its head grew sharp dark blue horns, with a vaguely penetrating luster. Below its belly were 2 claws, incomparably sharp. The ancient demon beast was shockingly a blooming water dragon. 13. The 2 flying swords used at full power had only gouged out a wound the size of their thumbs. Looking at it, it seemed as if they were trying to scratch an itch. 14. The blooming water dragon was nevertheless angry. It issued a dragon chant, its great mouth opening and closing. Immediately, a frightening water thunder spouted out. One no shit. From the description, I couldn't have figured it out. Right arrow curving left 2. Right arrow curving left 3. That's flag number 1. And this is the common sense of a soldier clashing with the logic of a pampered hero. Right arrow curving left 4. Right arrow curving left 5. An old video game, right arrow curving left 6. That's flag number 2. Right arrow curving left 7. Don't know when it started smoking, guys. Right arrow curving left 8. I'm assuming in Celsius. Right arrow curving left 9. Right arrow curving left 10. And bingo! That's flag number 3. Right arrow curving left 11. Right arrow curving left 12. 3. 3M. Right arrow curving left 13. Right arrow curving left 14. Have fun, you two. The water thunder was just like a splashing torrential downpour, sweeping across the entire Flower Dragon Hall. The high-grade nebula star artifact shark scale shield was immediately left in dire straits by the detonation of this blooming water thunder, which carved deep gashes into it. If it had scored a direct hit, Su Xing did not dare imagine what the end of that would be. Gong Saiwei's steps were like rising smoke, using her excellent stance and footwork to avoid these water thunders. She did not forget to initiate an incantation while dodging, directing Tracing Snow to do its utmost in attacking the blooming water dragon. The blooming water dragon suddenly soared into the air, its more than 10 body floating about the main hall, just like a real dragon would soar through clouds and mist. Unexpectedly, it had begun to fight the 2 flying swords. Sword swiftly rides the wind. Go! Gong Kaiwei and Su Xing did not dare to lower their guard, using this opportunity to activate the soul techniques of their artifacts. Tracing Snow turned into a cold light that pierced through the dragon's body, but the blooming water dragon floated around, extending 2 sharp claws that unexpectedly blocked Tracing Snow directly. Su Xing cursed, forming hand seals, linking together the incantations inside his mouth. True thunder punishes evil. Nothing will not burn. Punishing evil divine thunder. The thunder cry sword transformed into a bolt of lightning, striking towards the blooming water dragon. Although it had the words divine thunder, it fell short of true divine thunder by far. The blooming water dragon opened its maw wide, spraying out a stream of water like a thunderclap, slamming into the thunder cry sword with an explosion. The ancient demon beast's blooming water divine thunder could not be compared with the intermediate grade thunder cry sword. Su Xing violently spat out a mouthful of blood. The thunder cry sword was shockingly unable to do anything but be blown to pieces by the dragon's water thunder, causing Su Xing distress. With a dragon incantation of the 9 firmaments, the blooming water dragon suddenly coiled its body, keeping a dim light in its mouth. Be careful, it's blooming water divine thunder. Gong Kaiwei turned pale with fright, an artifact putting a barrier in front of her. She had barely uttered those words before a long, deafening cry resounded. A thunderbolt then sprayed forth from the blooming water dragon's mouth. It was unlike those water thunders from before. The thunderbolt sprayed out this time, turned into a straight line that concentrated all the water thunders into a single point. Its target was shockingly Su Xing. The blooming water divine thunder speed was fast enough that it could pass by in the blink of an eye, and the shark scale shield forcibly blocked this water thunder. As expected of an artifact that used a shark demon beast in its construction to not shatter on the spot against this, but it did lose much of its spiritual power, falling to the ground. Su Xing's heart sank. He had only just thought of raising his gun when the figure of the dim, dark blue light loomed over him. The blooming water dragon's pair of dragon pupils stared at Su Xing, its mouth full of sharp teeth. Being this close to the dragon from Legends, its mighty power and pressure unexpectedly shook Su Xing, such that he had no way to move. SFX Cassier. The blooming water dragon's claw scratched against Su Xing's stomach, directly sending him flying. This demon beast also wanted to take the opportunity to kill him, but how could Gong Kaiwei ever give it that chance? Throwing out a water line, the moment it touched air, it multiplied in size several times, becoming an icy light that immediately wrapped around the dragon. A narrow ring took shape surrounding the blooming water dragon's body, and it tightly held the dragon in place. The blooming water dragon roared endlessly, struggling with all its might. Gong Kaiwei hurried herself and flew in front Su Xing. You're still alive, right? Gong Kaiwei's heart tightened, getting scratched head-on by the ancient dragon demon beast. Never mind a nebula stage cultivator. Even a galaxy stage cultivator would necessarily perish without doubt. Su Xing spat out several mouthfuls of foul blood. Raising himself up and tearing open his jacket, he revealed that underneath was a golden thread fish scale armor. Though his complexion was unsightly, if he did not lean upon this golden thread fish scale armor, he would have already been eviscerated and disemboweled by this dragon. The power of that one dragon claw was truly incomparably tyrannical. Even the top-notch artifact golden thread fish scale armor had a slight crack torn in it. They had only fought 3 bouts with this demon beast, but the Thundercry sword was shattered, the shark scale shield heavily weakened, and the golden thread fish scale armor was also showing a crack. Su Xing was gloomy from the bottom of his heart. Gong Kaiwei, couldn't you have used this thing earlier? That water line already almost completely sealed the dragon. It seemed very exceptional if the ancient demon beast was unable to free itself. The ice sealing line is not capable of sustaining itself for very long. Right now it was used far too early for the blooming water dragon's power to be able to struggle this much. Gong Kaiwei's complexion was grim, knowing in her heart that her own supreme-grade nebula stage artifact was seemingly about to be destroyed here. Although this ancient demon beast has entered its declining years, the imposing aura it could emit exceeded Gong Kaiwei's expectations. Tracing snow returned to her hand, with its spiritual power suffering a great loss to the strike of the dragon claw. She could only return it to her astral bag. If you have any means to fight this, bring it out quickly. This gong nearly cannot restrain the demon beast any longer. The blooming water dragon spared no effort in its struggle, and the ice sealing line was also starting to become undone. Gong Kaiwei leapt, her white fingers forming a complex series of orchid hand seals. Then, 6 cold smoke jades flew out from her astral bag and added themselves to the one from before for a total of 7, laying out an array over Gong Kaiwei's whole body. Su Xing was amazed to see that Gong Kaiwei unexpectedly had so many cold smoke jades. These were not artifacts at all, but magic weapon materials. It was too late to think about this as he saw the ancient demon beast blooming water dragon had already broke free of the ice seal. Knowing that the means Gong Kaiwei was talking about was a trump card, whenever the demon beast broke free, then whatever other means they had, it would be hard to imagine this continuing. With a curse, the high-grade nebula stage artifact firebolt sword he had yet to become proficient with sword out, suspended before Su Xing stirred his magic energy, unceasingly imbuing star energy into the firebolt sword. The wooden sword turned red as a branding iron, vaguely dispersing a heat into the surroundings. The blade edge slowly took on the shape and form of lightning fire, issuing a crackling and tearing, a burning and scorching sound. The Gong Kaiwei standing to the side could not help but raise her eyebrows in shock upon seeing it. The 7 cold smoke jades revolved at great speed, and finally turned into 7 cold lights. In the air above them, they were like brilliant stars. An overwhelming cold intent was emitted, and the cold lights became increasingly bright until they finally were already dazzling, as if to blind the eyes. Under the rays of that blue light, Gong Kaiwei's face was cold frost, seemingly like an ice-cold fairy. Su Xing could not help but shiver from the bottom of his heart. Gong Kaiwei's trump card sure enough was impressive. The ancient demon beast seemed to have also received this oppressiveness, struggling to increase its ferocity. A lightning flash was issued from the blooming water dragon's body, and the ice seal finally tore open, incapable of holding out any longer. The supreme grade artifact then became a pile of fragments just like that. You beast, taste this Gong's 1,000 cold stars true technique. Gong Kaiwei gave it all her strength, and 7 cold stars flashed by. 7 freezing to the very bone cold stars quickly dug into the blooming water dragon's body. The blooming water dragon let out a snarl, the inside of its body becoming almost like it was transparent for a split second, and its internal meridians, flesh and organs could distinctly be seen. Then a cold dark blue light penetrated out from the blooming water dragon's body, turning the dragon into a body that issued light, a scene that was very terrifying. Su Xing believed that if Gong Kaiwei were to use this thousand cold stars true technique on him, he could only sit and wait for death. As they say, a starving camel is bigger than a horse. It was an ancient blooming water dragon after all. Even if it was already in its declining years, it still really was not something a nebula stage cultivator could oppose. Gong Kaiwei's sacred ice-cold ice charm, in the end, was a killing method only nebula late-stage cultivators used. After a long and painful cry, the blooming water dragon opened wide its terrible maw, a dim light immediately condensing. Gong Kaiwei's complexion changed. She did not think that this animal could still spout out blooming water divine thunder. And it was at this time that from beside her came comforting words. Honorable Taoist receives orders. Heavenly lightning, earthly fire, go! Su Xing chanted. The wooden sword's lightning turned into a brilliant red lightning that looked just like a threatening dragon, which precisely struck the blooming water dragon's mouth. The lightning directly shot out of its chest, and the dim light in its mouth extinguished. The blooming water dragon's body shook violently, and it immediately loosed a miserable and mournful dragon cry. Liked it. The blooming water dragon let out a heart-rending cry, its entire body under attack by lightning fire and icy frost. Finally, it could bear no more and fell right where it was, and the icy fog that shrouded the atmosphere diffused away. The atmosphere surrounding the two was so tense that they did not dare breathe, did not dare relax in even the slightest, fixing their gaze on the dragon's each and every move. Su Xing panted heavily, for this firebolt sword was truly not easy to use. This heavenly lightning art nearly exhausted his star energy. The deep and low ho sobbing of the dragon reverberated throughout the hall, a sound that moved the heart. After the cold mist covering the place dispersed, the blooming water dragon raised its slender and long body, its mouth spewing a savage breath, a pair of dragon eyes fixed completely upon them. Gong Kaiwei's expression changed, and Su Xing silently cursed. This ancient demon beast simply crawled back up under the combined attacks of two people. The dragon took to the air, opening its mouth to spit out another water thunder. Go! Gong Kaiwei dodged, flying away. With a subtle hand seal, the 5 styles burning phoenix hairpins shot towards the blooming water dragon with a whoosh. This high-grade artifact nailed into the dragon's body, igniting a dark flame. However, this was already considered nothing to the blooming water dragon. The dragon hissed, and with a splash, the water thunder forced the two to flee with great difficulty. The blooming water dragon was thoroughly infuriated. Its body coiled in the air, launching a high-speed assault. The dragon's powerful pressure pressed towards them from head-on, its dragon tail sweeping away. A powerful force whipped upon the two's bodies, slamming them heavily into the hall's walls. Subsequently, the blooming water dragon turned into a cold light, rushing directly at Gong Kaiwei. Gong Kaiwei had been rendered dazed and unseeing by this toss from the dragon. When she returned to her senses, the dragon had already appeared in front of her. The color drained from the immortal hero princess face. A cold light crossed the room, and the flying sword tracing snow acted as a barrier. Hey! Gong Kaiwei violently spat out a great amount of fresh blood, her internal organs seemingly about to split open. The dark red blood dyed her purer than snow clothes a deep crimson. The blooming water dragon's sharp claws tore towards Gong Kaiwei, and the immortal hero princess pupils shrunk, as if she had given up all hope. Just at this moment, a claw hook entangled the blooming water dragon's talons. In a moment of peril, the one who acted was none other than Su Xing. Su Xing tugged hard on the sharp claw hook, instilling his remaining star energy into the hook. It was just that this nebula intermediate stage artifact was simply a decoration to the wrathful blooming water dragon. The blooming water dragon hissed, and its sharp claws tore ferociously. Unexpectedly, Su Xing was pulled together with the sharp claw hook and sent flying, slamming heavily into the wall. However, Su Xing's intervention gave Gong Kaiwei time to react. The girl's double-edged sword rose, a cold light that pierced snow stabbing into the dragon's pupil. Then narrowly escaping with her body arts, she became like an approaching smoke. The blooming water dragon cried an even louder screech that even the main hall could not bear. Water thunders filled the sky in Flower Dragon Hall, stirring a violent storm of water. Su Xing only felt that all the bones in his body were nearly broken. It was unbearably painful, and seeing this landscape only brought new waves of pain. 3. Sure enough, this ancient demon beast could not be rashly challenged, for how could they ever get past its imposing air? Gong Kaiwei landed beside him, expressing gratitude to him. Quickly block this blooming water thunder, otherwise we both will die here. She tapped an astral bag, and more than 100 talismans came screaming out. But without waiting for the talisman's spells and techniques to activate, the blooming water dragon's water thunder cleanly destroyed a great portion of the talismans. Su Xing did not have enough time to tend to the pain in his body. At this time, he did not expect that the several hundred icebreak talismans he obtained from the Heavenly River Sword School's blue-clothed youth would have a pivotal role. Along with Gong Kaiwei, Su Xing threw out every single icebreak and splashing fire talisman he had. As the blooming water divine thunder swept past, it wiped out half of the talismans, but there was still the other half that activated. Immediately, countless icicles and fireballs under the control of Su Xing's divine intent covered the sky and earth as they overflowed towards the blooming water dragon. Gong Kaiwei waved her white hand, and at the same time, threw out several hundred talismans. The talismans turned into a twisting wind, entangling the blooming water dragon. This woman truly was rich, for these 100 talismans unexpectedly were wind kill, making this toss cost several tens of thousands of liang of gold. 5. Under the consecutive attacks of icicles, fireballs and twisting wind, the already heavily injured blooming water dragon constantly bellowed in suffering. Su Xing seized the opportunity to quaff down a returned spirit liquid, without leaving a single drop. If this damned animal still did not die, then he would really be powerless. Even if he were to use the blaze refining saber right now, he still did not have any extra star energy. Su Xing cursed, tossing out a dark red fragrant handkerchief, and the fragrant handkerchief multiplied several times in size without warning, turning from a small handkerchief into the size of a rug. Under Su Xing's control, the fragrant handkerchief spiraled around the top of the blooming water dragon's head, rotating clockwise. Su Xing spat out an incantation, his hand seals shooting out a red light that struck upon the fragrant handkerchief. The fragrant handkerchief went faster and faster, until finally, it was already indistinct, becoming a dark red cloud of miasma. Magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief? Gong Kaiwei went blank, looking at Su Xing in amazement. This guy really had too much star energy. He was at Nebula early stage, yet he could use several artifacts in succession. This was really unfathomable, but Gong Kaiwei had not much time to think, for at this moment, the most important thing for Su Xing was that the more favorable his position to take action, the better. Recognizing this, Gong Kaiwei also replenished some magic energy and used, with great difficulty, an artifact to help out. The 100 talismans were nearly all depleted, and the blooming water dragon was as it was before, suspended in midair. Completely covered in cuts and bruises, these low-level talismans barely posed a threat to the ancient demon beast. Su Xing seized the opportunity to chant, "Fall." The red cloud above the dragon immediately shot down with a crash, thoroughly wrapping the blooming water dragon in a surging and turbulent dark fire cloud. Not good. Su Xing's expression changed greatly. This magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief seemed to be just like a leech, unceasingly absorbing Su Xing's star energy. All of his star energy, that was not under his direct control, was sucked away. How could he have not anticipated that this nebula stage artifact would unexpectedly be more fearsome than the firebolt sword and the like? Not only was his star energy being rapidly absorbed, his physical energy was also being chipped away, and it was too late to stop even if he wanted to. Once the blooming water dragon was trapped, it was rolled up. Until Su Xing's star energy was completely depleted. Only then did the magical fire cloud handkerchief seemingly reluctantly recall its fire cloud, becoming a red light that shot into Su Xing's astral bag. The blooming water dragon was indeed unreasonably vicious enough to make their hair stand on end. It unexpectedly still had not fallen, however. The blooming water dragon fortunately could no longer spout out any more blooming water divine thunder. Its haggard and bruised body's movements had also begun to slow down. The blooming water dragon snarled, scratching towards the Su Xing, that already completely did not have any defensive strength left. 6 Currently, Su Xing did not even have the strength to stand. His eyes stared hopelessly at the rushing blooming water dragon, silently shouting miserably. Su Xing! Gong Kaiwei shouted. A graceful and delicate figure drew him into her embrace. With a tap of her toe, Gong Kaiwei avoided the blooming water dragon's attack, and then flew to the ledges and walls of the great hall. Hold tightly onto me. His head was covered by Gong Kaiwei's full and elastic bosom, and Su Xing subconsciously hugged Gong Kaiwei's upraised butt. 7 red clouds flew across Gong Kaiwei's face. Gritting her silvery teeth, it was too late for misgivings. She exhausted all her strength to fully use her light movements to avoid the blooming water dragon's snapping jaws. Fortunately, this ancient demon beast had been repeatedly pounded to the point it already had no strength left to spit out blooming water divine thunder. Otherwise, these two would have been done for a long time ago. That this ancient demon beast at its dusk would be so difficult to deal with had been far from being considered by Gong Kaiwei. 8. The maiden's snow lotus body scent made Su Xing slightly open his eyes, regaining just a bit of strength with great difficulty. However, the positions of Su Xing's head and hands did not change. 9. Gong Kaiwei's tender body was indeed soft and comfortable, such that he could not bear to part from it. Kaiwei, we better escape quickly. Su Xing panted heavily. At present, the two were arrows at the end of their path. 10. No. Gong Kaiwei was resolute. Then whatever other artifact you have, you'd better use it quickly. Su Xing thought she still had some finishing blow left. This gong has nothing left. Do not randomly move your hands. Gong Kaiwei was indignant. 11. The blooming water dragon suddenly exerted some strength. Gong Kaiwei narrowly avoided it, but Su Xing grasped her soft flesh so firmly, she almost thought of throwing him down. However, recalling that Su Xing saved herself once she endured it. Gong Kaiwei was not a fickle person. Your artifact just now already inflicted serious damage upon the dragon. Next, we only have to wait for it to exhaust its strength. Gong Kaiwei calmed her mind. Suddenly, the blooming water dragon swung its dragon tail at them, throwing Gong Kaiwei into the wall. Su Xing was not too concerned when he saw this. Holding her body tightly, he turned, becoming a human sandbag against the wall. He also knew that, right now, he could not let Gong Kaiwei suffer injury. Otherwise the two would inevitably die like lovers. 12. And become the blooming water dragon's lunch. This violent impact stuck the two's bodies even closer, with Gong Kaiwei's supple chest pasting itself directly onto Su Xing's face. 9. Liangshan continent's clothes generally covered less, so once Gong Kaiwei's white skirt was touched by water, her underwear became visible. Such a heavy impact also made Gong Kaiwei's lovable body shake. She almost let out a tender moan. This was still the very first time she had been close to a man in this way. This bastard's mouth definitely must be torn up in order for this to work. Gong Kaiwei cursed, and tracing snow flew over to disperse the blooming water dragon's speed. And just like this, within the flower dragon hall, was staged the emulation of a farce. Whenever the ancient demon beast blooming water dragon rose in defiance, Gong Kaiwei would throw out a few talismans, or use tracing snow to hold it back. Fortunately, that tracing snow was a god weapon and trump card that had several times turned peril into safety. Su Xing had his strength very cleanly removed by that monstrous magical fire cloud handkerchief. Though he wished to help, he was unable to. He could only hug Gong Kaiwei's side and point out a direction to avoid the blooming water dragon. Seeing this pair's escape sequence, Su Xing did not know whether to laugh or cry. This outcome was only brought about by the two working together as one, and switching to Gong Kaiwei doing things alone was simply a death sentence. This was also the first time Su Xing experienced the terror of an ancient demon beast, and even if he were to die, he could not despise it. And so they chased each other lethally like this for some time, and even Gong Kaiwei was gradually overdrawing her energy. Her movements became slow while the blooming water dragon was about driven mad with resentment. It was an ancient demon beast, yet it unexpectedly seemed as if it was a cat or dog chasing them, which was indeed a great humiliation. At this moment, the blooming water dragon stopped, its entire body trembling incessantly. Things looked to be more or less as Gong Kaiwei had anticipated. This dragon had used up most of its energy after its frenzy, for its age was old after all. It was also beaten half to death by two people, and now, it had chased them for a very long time. The blooming water dragon had reached its limit, and it thought of fleeing back into the lake water, only to discover that Gong Kaiwei had frozen it over in advance. Right now, it had lost even the strength to shatter the ice. That dragon has stopped, Su Xing said. Gong Kaiwei also stopped, her chest heaving up and down with a fatigue unbearable. Su Xing only saw her gaze turn upwards. At this time, the blooming water dragon became increasingly strange, for it straightened its body as if to fight once more. Its two cheeks swelled, rising and falling, clearly wanting again to spray out blooming water divine thunder. This time, the two's faces were extremely dejected. If it really spouted out blooming water divine thunder, then they really were about to die as a couple. Could it be we are about to die like a happy couple? 14 Su Xing sighed. The water escape divine talisman was useless in the flower dragon hall. Otherwise they still could flee. Gong Kaiwei's gaze was fixed on the dragon. At this moment, Su Xing noticed the blooming water dragon did not seem to be about to spit out water thunder, for its mouth did not have lightning. Ho! The blooming water dragon suddenly opened its mouth, and a pink liquid sprayed out. Not good, what this animal sprayed was sex fluid. 16 Gong Kaiwei was deathly pale, even more alarmed than when she had saw the blooming water divine thunder. Or it could be said she would rather that be blooming water divine thunder. SFX schwa. Rustling. 17. The pink liquid rained down completely onto the pair's bodies without the slightest bit of concern. The blooming water dragon had also been pushed to desperation, in the end suddenly unleashing an aphrodisiac sex fluid from when it would be in heat. Right after, this ancient demon beast incapable of holding itself up anymore dangled its head with a thud. Laying on the ground, it seemed that it was so exhausted that it died. This goddamn beast. Gong Kaiwei's whole body trembled, her face completely white. The pink fluid had sprayed onto her body. Immediately, an intense lust surged like a tide throughout her mind. Su Xing only felt that the blood in his body at that moment was burning, and he could not stop the impulse gathering in his lower half that seemed to want to break out of his body. If you dare to do something beastly to me, I definitely will not forgive you. Gong Kaiwei clung obstinately to her will, using a decisive gaze to stare at Su Xing, as if looking at a man with the heart of a beast. The incorruptible and refined immortal hero princess was an utter mess right now. She could barely use tracing snow to prop herself up and prevent herself from falling over. Her legs clamped tightly, her flesh already appearing to flush a bright red, and her breathing was gradually growing rapid and labored. The liquid trickled down along Gong Kaiwei's thigh. Her beautiful eyes contained passion, a lustful tide rippling again, and again through her body bubbled forth. Gong Kaiwei tightly clenched her teeth, but her body already no longer obeyed her will, for the ancient demon beast's aphrodisiac carried its ferocity. Even though the world's first-rate aphrodisiac pill was merely so, if these two people still had some remaining star energy, then there would have been something to be said. However, fighting a great battle with the blooming water dragon had already made each other completely spent. Resigned to their fate, their energies had already reached their minimums. She had been bitterly guarding her will for not even a few minutes, but Gong Kaiwei was almost already at her limit. No! Her white hands covered below her crotch as she at last sank down, incapable of enduring anymore. With both hands, she tore open her own long skirt, those snow-white undergarments sticking to the girl's most secret places. She panted again and again, as if complaining, as if sobbing. On the other side, Su Xing fared somewhat better than she. The training of the chaotic tail escape let his willpower gain superhuman levels of valiance. If it had only been this dragon's sex fluid by itself, that would have been fine. But upon seeing a sweet great beauty before his eyes lying down on her side full of desire, it was as if a pitiful man had suddenly glimpsed an erotic picture of something intimate. That sort of provocation was fatal, like adding oil into the middle of a fire, making Su Xing's willpower immediately collapse. All of his reason crumbled away, and all of his lust was released. Su Xing pressed himself onto Gong Saiwei's body, feeling the burning passion of a male's chest. As if she was grabbing onto a life-saving branch, Gong Kaiwei embraced Su Xing, their red lips sticking to one another in a fervent, unbridled kiss. The overlapping collar of Gong Saiwei's clothing was torn open. A cute, immaculately white bodice, too, was lifted up, and two towering, perfectly round mounds broke free from their restraints, bouncing out from within. Those two fresh, tender, and solid points of beauty being in the air was stunning. With one hand, Su Xing ruthlessly ravaged that plumpness, using his lips to suck away at them while his other hand grabbed her well-rounded, supple butt and kneaded it wantonly between his fingers. From time to time, he would use more strength to sample Gong Saiwei's sweet, beautiful moans. Clothes flew away as if they were snowflakes. Just as Su Xing's other hand was about to erase the girl's secret flower path, he suddenly heard the sound of sobbing resound. This sobbing that could not be heard in the midst of the girl's moans even added a different sort of flavor. The already completely burning with desire Su Xing did not care for it either. But his lips finally kissed a salty, moist liquid. Su Xing stared blankly, only seeing that the Gong Kaiwei, without a thread covering her body, had her whole face completely streaked with tears. As she frantically kissed, she also despairingly sobbed. Heavenly River Mountain Cliffs. Night had already fallen. The water and land assembly was already approaching its end. The Flower Dragon Cave whirlpools were currently gradually becoming weak, as this magnificent scene in both the skies and the ground was disappearing. Lin Yingmei suddenly felt flustered, as if her stomach was being pressed down upon by a large rock, leaving her somewhat unbearably fidgety. Little Sis Yingmei, relax, young master is very clever. When there really is a danger, there will be a resolution. We mustn't worry too much. Wu Xinjie comforted her. Lin Yingmei furrowed her brow. There was some sort of external matter causing her heart to be tightened to the point she could not breathe. Zhu Sha, the immortal hero princess, was never here for the blooming water divine thunder this time around. Was she? Just what is she planning? Wu Xinjie's heart was somewhat bored, so she asked the towering, statuesque Zhu Sha on her other side a question. Looking at her now, she discovered the always expressionless leader star had also exposed a rare look of anxiety. Seeing Zhu Sha did not reply, Wu Xinjie changed her question. Then can you always tell me she has self-confidence? Zhu Sha grunted in confirmation. Wu Xinjie twitched her lips. Suddenly, the middle of the sky issued a crimson light. The three star maidens lifted their heads in succession, and in the galactic chessboard above, one star emitted a crimson light, just as if another new star general had been born. This is bad. So soon, and already we are almost exceeding half the number of crimson stars required. Looks like the birth outline is about to start, and it seems that we must accelerate the advancements in the young master's cultivation to make this work. The knowledge star muttered to herself, not knowing why her heart was somewhat apprehensive. Inside the Flower Dragon Hall, Gong Saiwei's tears were just like a bowl of cold water dumped right on top of Su Xing's head. The two faced each other. That humiliation, resentment and grief in her expression was like a needle stabbing into his heart. Seeing that girl's hurt appearance, Su Xing's heart shivered. Just what was he doing? 5 as a soldier of the Republic, just what was he hoping for? Seeing Gong Kaiwei like this, just what was he looking forward to? Resisting his exploding desire, Su Xing grabbed her shoulders with both his hands, kissing once more Gong Saiwei's fragrant lips. The girl's emotions immediately flared up. Only this time, Su Xing was not indulging himself. He bitterly guarded his willpower, so as to absolutely not humiliate the Republic's soldiers. But how could he believe that he could break free from the dragon's sex fluid? Su Xing's mind flashed by, and he immediately used the heart like mirror's absolute sincerity soul technique. His consciousness momentarily entered an unprecedented lucid state, and quite a few refreshing streams of air flowed past his entire body's meridians. His surging impulses and desires unexpectedly had an indication of ebbing. Su Xing saw that there was hope, and then he continued to completely throw himself into the middle of the soul technique of the heart like mirrors. Appearances are empty, empty are appearances, no appearance and no emptiness. The heart has not grieved by its side. Reading the mirror's incantation silently in his mind, he began to return, and Su Xing slowly felt his own body was increasingly tranquil. A pink mist spouted from his pores as Su Xing's flushed skin also slowly returned to its normal color, and by his kiss, Su Xing's mental state was passed on to Gong Kaiwei. The despairing immortal hero princess also felt a sort of peace passing through her with kisses, one after the other pacifying her whole body. Her pink, tender and moist flesh began to subside. Although it was still a kiss, Gong Kaiwei was no longer feeling filled with humiliation like before. Even more came from the tranquility of her own heart, and the girl's kisses became softer. The two were kissing and embracing just like this, connecting their feelings exactly like lovers. 6. A cloud of peach flower fog swirled about, and the two finally lost all their strength as well as their consciousness. An erotic dream with no traces. When Su Xing finally woke up again, Gong Kaiwei was dressed tidily by his side deep in thought. Her torn long skirt had already been exchanged for a new one, and her white clothes purer than snow were quite free from vulgarity. Imagining an untainted fairy's suave and placating style, Su Xing really felt he was in a dream. Finishing inspecting his lower half, it was quite clear that that sort of out-of-date Wuxia plot did not occur. Su Xing pretended to be disappointed as he sighed. Why? Gong Kaiwei abruptly asked coldly. 8. Su Xing was blank. What do you mean why? Why? Gong Kaiwei gritted her teeth. Seeing her expression carrying a quantum of resentment, Su Xing immediately understood in a flash. Don't think only your chastity is important? I'm still looking forward to giving my virginity to the woman I love, when both sides consent. I don't want my first time doing this sort of thing to be weeping endlessly and disappointed. I'd be impotent afterwards. Gong Kaiwei subconsciously wanted to slap some sense into this man's unsealable mouth. Her hand stopped midway, watching Su Xing's not in the least concerned expression, as an indescribable feeling of being touched arose from the bottom of her heart. Thank you, she whispered softly. Enough with the thanks. In the eyes of others, this was exceedingly ridiculous as Su Xing shook his head. A thoroughly cooked duck flies just like this. Anyways, under such a cliché aphrodisiac drug plotline, there was nothing good to be said about his taking advantage of the situation. Pushing down the immortal hero princess was not the sort of matter where there was an opportunity to do so whenever he wanted it. On the other hand, Su Xing did not have any feelings of pity. In the Republic, he had been trained to become the most outstanding young trump card. Between his spirit as a soldier and his desire, the scale of the former was much heavier. Thanks to Gong Kaiwei, the heart-like mirror soul technique, unexpectedly breaking through the first level under this sort of situation, could be considered an accidental harvest. Gong Kaiwei's face was slightly red, saving her chastity, while under the dragon's aphrodisiac, was just like having a dream. Right now, some parts of her expression had not returned to normal, and the expression she had as she watched Su Xing had changed into something slightly different. In her understanding, only the very honest sort of man could abandon his own desires for the sake of others. Gong Kaiwei naturally did not understand the military's iron law. Serve the people. But she also felt that she really could not see through Su Xing honestly. That was impossible. On the contrary, he was quite crafty, but his willpower was also extraordinarily valiant. Apparently, one half was callous while the other was tender. Gong Kaiwei began to understand just a bit why the skillful star would follow behind him everywhere. Despite thinking that, this loathsome scoundrel still saw everything about her clear as ice and clear as jade body. 2. Feeling her whole body, originally, going with what sort of personality Gong Kaiwei had, she already planned to inevitably scatter this sinful brute's soul with terror after coitus. Now, that had evolved into this unsure manner. Wanting to hate yet not being able to hate, this indeed made the immortal hero princess endlessly depressed. Su Xing definitely did not know Gong Kaiwei's complex thinking, nor did he know this inadvertent hui of Liuxia behavior unexpectedly let him escape a calamity. Seeing Gong Kaiwei's indecisiveness, he then said, Kaiwei, how do we handle that dragon? And you can have it. Gong Kaiwei went blank after she replied. It seemed he was balancing himself for Kaiwei. Staring at Su Xing, she threw a pill at him. What Su Xing caught was an aqua blue demon pill. This is a blooming water thunder dragon pill. You only need to spend some time refining it in your body. And then you can refine a blooming water divine thunder. You don't need this? Su Xing asked. Gong Kaiwei thought it below herself to reply. Even if you did refine a blooming water divine thunder, you still need the blooming water sword sex blooming water divine thunder true technique in order to refine out of it great power. Otherwise, this sort of water thunder is only the ordinary sort. And why would this Gong ever go study the blooming water sword sex true technique? Su Xing was silent. He already knew that practicing the blooming water's magnificent power would not be so easy. Did you not want to learn the riding sword art? Going to the blooming water sword sect just happens to give you this chance. You only need reveal your status as a star master, and the blooming water sword sect will definitely revere you as an honored guest, which would be quite entertaining. Gong Kaiwei coldly pursed her lips, glancing at the blooming water dragon. You take this beast as well. It just so happens to be able to refine your 2 artifacts into supreme grade artifacts. There will be no problem selling the rest of the pieces of the dragon for several million liang of gold. These items will be sufficient to satisfy young Master Su Xing? Su Xing thought it was quite worth it to be able to see the immortal hero princess appearance, overflowing with thoughts of love. Seeing Gong Kaiwei's terrible expression, Su Xing tactfully skirted her embarrassed aspect. Then just what did you come here to do? The empty and washed flower dragon hall did not seem to be hiding precious valuables. Its sole valuable was this ancient demon beast. But right now, even that was no more. Su Xing truly could not understand what plans Gong Kaiwei had. Could it be that he had been rendered confused by his iniquity? This Gong has already found what she needed. Gong Kaiwei replied ambiguously. Seeing that she did not seem to be lying, Su Xing nodded. After nosing around the flower dragon hall, like this once more to confirm, the two returned home. Atop the heavenly river's cliffs, the 3-star generals were delighted to see Gong Kaiwei break out of the water riding her sword. The two disguised themselves as capable people, and it would occur to no one that a certain spectacle happened within the flower dragon hall. 3 Zhu Xia was beside Gong Kaiwei whispering something into her ear, and the immortal hero princess faintly nodded her head. Facing Su Xing and his group, she said, "This Gong still has some matters to attend to and will return first. I believe it will not be long before we next meet. When that time comes, this Gong will definitely not be lenient. Young Master Su Xing, you had best prepare." Saying so without caring for Su Xing's reaction, tracing snow became a fleeting light and disappeared far into the night sky. Seeing that riding sword flight, Su Xing was quite envious. Don't tell me I actually have to go to that whatever sword sect in order to learn the riding sword art? Who says? Wu Xinjie giggled, taking out an astral bag. A scattered star cultivator, who didn't watch his step, dropped by to deliver this. It just so happens that inside is a riding sword art that young master needs. Su Xing was delighted. This really came at such a time. Young master, you were fine within the flower dragon hall, right? Lin Yingmei asked. Her tone had a trace of concern. 5 Su Xing nodded. Looking around in the heavenly river's vicinity, he said, "Let's talk on the road." On the road back to Heavenly Water City, Su Xing earnestly recounted all the events that transpired when he arrived at the Flower Dragon Cave, of course leaving out that matter with Gong Kaiwei. 6. Upon hearing the expiration of the blooming water dragon, the 2 girls cried out in surprise. And when confronting Gong Kaiwei's magnanimity, Lin Yingmei similarly could not understand. Wu Xinjie then smiled slightly, pointing out the cause in all this. In all likelihood, the immortal hero princess has taken the dragon soul. 7 Dragon soul. Some high-level demon beasts have souls. It is exceptionally good material for refining talisman scripts, or injecting a soul into a weapon. Xinjie also saw her tracing snow was a divine weapon. She probably wants to use the blooming water dragon soul to inject her weapon with a soul. This is definitely less complicated than refining blooming water divine thunder. Su Xing suddenly understood, scowling. It's just a pity that the blooming water divine thunder is that blooming water sex soul signature art. What I just got right now is useless. Since you already have the blooming water thunder dragon pill, then there's always a solution. However, at present, young master must now pay attention to another matter. The knowledge star's expression became very cautious. What matter? The Maiden Mountain's second stage of duels, the birth outline, 8, is about to begin. Su Xing stared blankly. Wu Xinjie then delicately narrated that when the Maiden Mountain star duels began, there were a total of 5 stages. The first stage was the heavenly and earthly stars, where the 108 stars rising in the sky represented the curtain raiser for the star duels. Then the second stage was this birth outline. When the crimson stars in the sky exceeded half the total stars, then the birth outline would commence. At that time, every star master and star general would go to fight over the birth treasure outline. The birth outline was classified as a purple star great astral treasure, 9. Legends said it recorded all of the Maiden Mountain's 108 star maidens' talents as well as failings. Whoever could obtain the birth outline would also signify that in the star duels to come, that they had obtained an area that they could occupy with active dominance. 10. That is why every time the star duels hit the second stage of birth outline, this was also an exceptionally good opportunity to scout out the strength of star masters, one after another. In the fight over the birth outline, nearly every star master and star general would unscrupulously use their abilities without holding back. Su Xing raised his head, glancing briefly to see that the sky's crimson star were already at 46. Aside from the 2 stars that fell, there were still 7 stars left in order to pass the halfway mark. This period of time did not include any more falling stars. It seems that it is imminent. 11. Su Xing frowned. The top priority is that we must advance young master's strength. Within these 2 months at the least, you must reach Nebula late stage and learn the riding sword art. Otherwise, young master would have absolutely no chance in this birth outline. The knowledge star said gravely. Lin Yingmei also nodded her head in agreement. Enter Nebula late stage in 2 months? This can't be too likely. No matter how Su Xing trained, 2 months was still too few. The resourceful star Wu Yong smiled self-confidently. No, neither is it some difficult task. Young master only needs to become an outlaw. 12, and perhaps a little more than a month will suffice. Become an outlaw? Su Xing said hoarsely. 1 is a derogatory term used for men. Right arrow curving left 2. Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Welp, now she knows the true identity of Lin Yingmei. Right arrow curving left 5. And the first wife knows. Right arrow curving left 6. Well, it's only a matter of time before they find out. Maybe? When they do, Su Xing is so dead. Right arrow curving left 7. Right arrow curving left 8. Right arrow curving left 9. Right arrow curving left 10. Basically, it offers an overwhelming tactical advantage in intelligence gathering. Right arrow curving left 11. Right arrow curving left 12. Has a context associated with banditry. Become an outlaw. Su Xing knew the Water Margin was a very famous work, but it did not occur to him that Liangshan continent would also have this. Su Xing confusedly asked that this becoming an outlaw was not going and becoming a thief, right? Actually, it was completely the opposite of what Su Xing was thinking. The so-called become an outlaw was a special existence among the star masters that could be understood as the secret hideout, 2 of cultivation. Star masters that cultivated in such a place as a secret hideout could have their efforts while doubling their results. Otherwise, for what reason would star masters make people jealous? And was it not just because they held exceptional advantages? Not only did they have the deadly stars as fierce fighters, even their cultivation was in this way faster than a normal person's. However, this becoming an outlaw was not that easy to handle, and that would have been nonsense, for Liangshan continent never had such an inexpensive advantage. According to what Wu Xinjie said, becoming an outlaw first of all required going to the Divination Star Platform 3 to hear about permission to become an outlaw. The outlaw writ was also known as the token of becoming an outlaw, 5 or Liangshan Outlaw Certificate. 6. So long as one possessed this token, the unique gifts accompanying the Star Master could then start an unrivaled cultivation in their own secret training grounds. regarding the currently drifting 7 Su Xing. This was definitely very moving. It was just that the divination star platform was in the Great Liang dynasty, and furthermore, this outlaw writ was not so easy to obtain. Relying on the nebula stage was still very dangerous. Generally speaking, the majority of star masters all entered galaxy cultivation before they voluntarily became outlaws. But young master, you are different. You have this servant in Wu Yong, these 2 star generals. You have an even greater advantage than other star masters. Lin Yingmei said as such. Thinking it over, this matter was not very worrisome, and he still wanted to consider it a bit further. The main headache plaguing Su Xing currently was the blooming water divine thunder though. The Liangshan continent 5 elements astonishing thunder, just in his hand was actually useless, making things somewhat gloomy. Returning to Ensuan's residence in Heavenly Water City, the efficacious star spotted the 3, her face carrying a great big smile. Just the young master and you 2 returning safely is good enough. Su Xing brought out a few medical ingredients, handing them over to Ensuan. I've truly troubled you here. Please accept these. Ensuan shook her head in refusal. Suan often receives Sister Xinjia's consideration. Sister's young master, how could Suan receive this? Ensuan, you should just take them. Only you, the divine physician, can refine these items anyways. Wu Xinjia immediately encouraged her. Ensuan hesitated for a moment, her face slightly red, then sweetly accepted the materials. Then Suan shall be rude. These medical ingredients included ones called bitter water ginseng. 8. One called frost leaf. 9. For she just happened to lack these 2 materials. Returning to his bedroom, Su Xing had just toiled for a day. Lying atop the bed, he snored as he fell into a deep sleep. Lin Yingmei and Wu Xinjia stood at the bedside, observing their young master's sleeping form. The knowledge star crouched giggling. Young master truly does not have any caution. That sleeping posture makes Xinjia love it so. Lin Yingmei furrowed her brow. Over the past few days, Wu Xinjia already on more than one occasion wanted to lay in the same bed as Su Xing. 10. The knowledge star was honestly a bit presumptuous. The young master is currently at the early stage. Wu Yong, if you mess around, this servant definitely will not forgive you. Pardon me, little sis Yingmei, but what does this mess around refer to? Wu Xinjia gave a lascivious glance. Lin Yingmei groaned. However, Xinjia noticed the young master, and that immortal hero princess were somewhat different in some places. Wu Xinjia said. Lin Yingmei exposed her bewilderment. Haha, thinking of deceiving the knowledge stars, is definitely not that simple. That immortal hero princess both loves and hates our young master. 11. Really? Lin Yingmei revealed her disbelief. I'm afraid that when they were slaying the dragon, something interesting happened. Wu Xinjia stifled a smile. She fixed her gaze onto Su Xing's face, her charming eyes like silk. Using her white fingers to gently caress him, she said to herself. And what would that something be? Young master. Lin Yingmei definitely did not have the knowledge star's passion for gossip. At night, she not only took charge of the young master's safety, she also guarded against this female wolf. The magnificent knowledge star unexpectedly always thought of seducing the young master, actually depressing the panther head greatly. Today the young master made a narrow escape. 12. Wu Yong, your tomfoolery does not bewilder this servant. Lin Yingmei said stubbornly. I know that. I, the resourceful star, am definitely not a fool. Wu Xinjia twitched her mouth. Lin Yingmei lay down in her clothes on Su Xing's right side, and Wu Xinjia at this moment also lay on his left. Originally, the star maidens could enter the star nest to cultivate, for it held many benefits towards increasing star energy. However, Lin Yingmei needed to protect Su Xing's safety, and Wu Xinjia held no interest towards star energy. At night, they just slept on either side of him, and over many days, these 3 already grew accustomed to it. 13, however, only when Lin Yingmei laid down did she discover the situation was slightly unsuitable. Because this was the first sleep he had upon a bed, Su Xing had already stripped off all his outerwear, leaving on only a pair of shorts. Right now, because he was too exhausted, he slept like a dead pig, basically unable to sense the 2 beauties at his side attending to him. She had not felt this way before when he was wearing clothes, but this time, she shot glances at her own young master's fine torso. A male's masculine scent entered her nose, making Lin Yingmei's heart restless, unexpectedly leaving her slightly at a loss of what to do. From time to time, Lin Yingmei heard the sound of clothes. Taking a look, Wu Xinjie unexpectedly also threw off that garment she wore, exposing the tube top, 14 underneath, sensually revealing her snow-white limbs. Wu Yong, just what are you doing? Lin Yingmei was stunned. Of course you need to undress when you sleep on the bed. Aya, Xinjie knows what you're worried about. Nothing will happen with the young master sleeping so deeply. Wait until after we have a secret hideout, before we discuss this further. Xinjie has very much appropriate behavior, anyways he. Saying that, Wu Xinjie let out a comfortable voice. Fearing that a loud noise would disturb the young master's rest, Lin Yingmei could only let her get away with it. Lin Yingmei closed her eyes to rest, her divine intent not yet relaxed in the slightest, when suddenly, Su Xing turned over, half embracing Lin Yingmei in his arms. The girl's body went rigid, looking at the young master in shock. Su Xing was still sleeping soundly, his mouth speaking odd sleep talk. Kaiwei, your figure is indeed very good. Sure enough, it was the same as what Wu Xinjie said. Something happened to the young master, and that immortal hero princess, inside the flower dragon cave. And just as Lin Yingmei thought that, she suddenly felt her chest being attacked. It was like the girl suffered an electric shock, almost wanting to just grab this hand and throw it out. Seeing the dreaming Su Xing's subconscious actions, she endured temporarily. But then, Lin Yingmei used both hands to grab Su Xing's hand, wanting him to release her. Only heaven knew what grand, shameless, beyond belief dream her own young master was having, going so far as to embrace her sideways from behind. His wide chest pressed up against Lin Yingmei's back, giving her a very relaxed kind of peace of mind. But almost immediately, this sort of feeling was shattered by those perverted hands covering her breasts. Her face reddened to the point that it was about to drip water. Wu Xinjie kept her eyes open a tiny crack. Smiling craftily, she used her hands to grab onto Su Xing's, and suddenly began to use them to knead what was in them. Ah! Came the sound of a shallow groan. Young master, cease this at once. Lin Yingmei gasped for breath. Her body had gone soft, and her own pure and holy place momentarily allowed itself to be grasped. It was at that time that Lin Yingmei heard a slight panting, and she immediately realized the resourceful star's evil scheme. Her mind cleared itself in but a moment, and resentfully turning over and getting out of the bed. Wu Yong! It seems little sister also really hopes the young master will make her moist? Wu Xinjie opened her eyes. With a cold sound, the Arctic star spear flashed a chilling light. Wu Xinjie stuck out her sweet tongue. Little sister, calm yourself. Her body transformed and secretly entered the star nest, and Wu Xinjie's sudden entrance into his mind made Su Xing's head hurt. Opening his eyes with a groan, he saw Lin Yingmei standing resentfully in front of him, Arctic spear in hand, the front piece of her jacket half open, revealing half of a sensual sight. There was a gnat just now. Lin Yingmei covered her chest with her hand and stored her weapon. Su Xing went oh, and asked, You want to sleep on the bed? 16 Lin Yingmei's face immediately blushed a deep red, and with righteous and proper words. No, may young master have proper rest. Su Xing did not have any sort of energy, only feeling that Lin Yingmei's bashful appearance was really interesting. Smiling, he then laid back down to sleep, and surprisingly turned over his body, leaving Lin Yingmei a wide space. Lin Yingmei went blank for a moment before she slowly shifted over. And Suwen's hands held a copy of the Testament of the Zhu, as she passed through the corridor, stopping when she arrived at the courtyard behind the house. Two people were swiftly flitting about within the middle of the courtyard. One red and one green, that absolutely dazzled the eyes. The sparks that were evoked resounded throughout the surroundings. Young master, don't lose. Knowledge star Wu Xinjie sat to the side, watching the good show in front of her, filled with interest. Sister Xinjie, what is happening with them? And Suwen asked curiously. The two people battled in the middle of the courtyard with an exceptional intensity, and shaking to the core. Uninformed people might have believed it to be a big fight. Oh, the majestic star is very energetic today. Wuxia covered her mouth with a sort of victorious evil grin. It must be that too much of her strength from last night remained. She even winked when she finished speaking, a you get it, right? Sort of expression. And Suwen was used to the knowledge star's flirtatious conduct, smiling serenely. Young Master Su Xing appears to have much talent, fighting Sister Ingmei without even being outdone. The one who carved the majestic star's mark down is rather ordinary. Wu Xinjie felt this was a matter of course. She looked at the book in Suwen's hands. That's right, Suwen. Do you have any works pertaining to the continent's pills and such? Xinjie is also not too clear on these. And always every time obtaining a pill and troubling you for the great many things that the young master does not understand is also not very good. And Suwen nodded. This happened to be the efficacious star's, the divine physician's expertise. However, if little sis Suwen could also sign a contract with the young master, then that would be great. This way would also not cause that much trouble. Wu Xinjie's expression was ambiguous. The knowledge star did not care one bit if her sisters increased more and more. And Suwen lightly smiled without a reply. Wu Xinjie also knew that this was impossible. Since the start of the star duels in ancient times, no one had ever heard of a star master that could contract with 3 star generals. Contracting with 2 was already something that needed profuse thanks. At this moment, the courtyard's intensifying battle had already reached its climactic stage. The 2 girls could not help but be surprised. Lin Yingmei's Arctic star spear cut through the blue sky. An ice-cold chill immediately shrouded the 4 directions. The young girl heaved a great shout, imposing and ferocious, countless ice shards dancing freely in the breeze. Su Xing used silver blade to block, secretly speechless. Lin Yingmei's attack unexpectedly approached with this sharpness, different from the spars they had until now. The majestic star's attack could be said to seemingly sweep through all obstacles, one maneuver after another, continuous and uninterrupted. Fortunately, Lin Yingmei did not use too much power upon her star weapon. Otherwise Su Xing would basically have had no way of resisting under the majestic star's fierce and urgent assault. This was also fine. Su Xing was actually worried Lin Yingmei previously had misgivings attacking him. As far as he was concerned, arousing latent potential within the most desperate situations was something he was already incomparably familiar with. A whistling noise directly sounded. Young master, receive this. Lin Yingmei's spear suddenly thrusted, a point of cold light drawing out a winding thread. The Arctic star spear's spear point was just like flowing stars and moonlight, its sudden thrust completely brimming with a stifled sense of beauty. Su Xing took advantage of a pivot to wave his blade. The first place he connected with was Lin Yingmei's pair of eyes that chilled to the bone. Her black pupils already were no longer cold as winter. Rather, they had a deeply penetrating tranquility, every moment forcing a formless, whistling point to sweep this way. The spear and silver blade crossed each other in midair again and again. Lin Yingmei exerted her strength to continue her stab from before. Su Xing avoided contacting her from in front with a beautiful sidestep. The sound of metal clashing against each other. Su Xing suddenly dodged and formed hand seals at the same time. A blue flying sword unsheathed and flew out, on one hand using silver blade to draw in Lin Yingmei, and the other to devote some of his concentration to controlling the flying sword. This vacillating manner made Suwen endlessly shocked. Su Xing's silver blade already attacked, and the flying sword was also like lightning, shooting towards its opponent. It suddenly changed directions while en route to attack, but this ingenious attack was incapable of obstructing Lin Yingmei's pace. The majestic star panther head was just like a chilly snow carved into a quick attack moving back and forth. Even if she was occasionally forced into dead end by an attack from both sides, that snow-piercing cold spear's rapid and accurate attack was sufficient to help her out of trouble. It was just that in the blink of an eye, that heroic and beautiful figure arrived before Su Xing. The edge of the spear wrapped in austerity chopped downward suddenly, carrying a pale light to Su Xing's eyes. Su Xing dodged to the side this strike, and that expansive spear light abruptly changed direction right upon the floor, its vertical chop turning into a horizontal sweep, easily fending off the flying sword's attack. Su Xing took this chance to rouse two weapons, dispersing an expansive white, cold light spilling towards Lin Mei. It was similar to a hurricane overcoming all obstacles, shrouding her tightly within the glints and flashes of steel. However, regardless of how tricky Su Xing's attack angle was, how frequently it alternated speeds, his attack was still as before, incapable of injuring Lin Mei in the slightest. That handle of the spear suffused with a cold-colored light danced under Lin Mei's control, like an airtight iron wall, sweeping open every single attack he waved out. Su Xing was that helpless after ending their spar. Su Xing's brow was beaded with sweat, praising, "Pretty good. Today's attacks were truly fierce. You scared me a bit, ha." Lin Mei walked over, putting away her spear, slightly apologetic. "Sorry, your servant was reckless." "It's nothing, I like it when you're like this." Su Xing shook his head. Lin Mei grunted in appreciation. The two people turned back. Seeing Ensuan, Su Xing abruptly recalled something and said, "Ensuan, there's something I want to consult with you about." "Young master, please speak." Ensuan said, "Can you refine thunder water flowers?" He had obtained more than 20 thunder water flowers, and a thunder water flower snake crown from that flower dragon cave. Su Xing did not know at all what they were used for, recalling that since the blooming water divine thunder was not so easy to refine, it would be better to first refine a few simple divine thunders for himself as practice. Suan is capable with pills, medical arts and such. On the contrary, I've never refined this thunder water flower before. And Suan muttered irresolutely to herself, "Young master, this is in preparation to refine a blooming water divine thunder?" Su Xing nodded. "Young master, don't you have a blooming water thunder dragon pill? This indeed genuine blooming water divine thunder is far better than the thunder water flower." Wu Xinjie was opposed. It would be better to someday take these thunder water flowers and make them into divine thunder talismans. Xinjie believes this is even more appropriate somewhat. "Ah, the young master obtained a blooming water thunder dragon pill?" And Suan jaw hung slightly agape in astonishment. "It was only luck," Su Xing said. 3 and Suan smiled. What Sister Xinjie said was not wrong. Since the young master has the blooming water thunder dragon pill, then there is no need to refine divine thunder. "It's not that I want to first use these divine thunders to practice," Su Xing explained helplessly. The remarkable ability of the blooming water divine thunder technique required the full use of the blooming water sword sect's true technique. But Su Xing did not have any interest in joining the blooming water sword sect at all. Having him go bow his head for the sake of a sect, he did not have even the slightest bit of interest. Additionally, what Su Xing considered even more was in case he became a member of this sect, he would inevitably be put under the leash of the sect's capable people. How could he have his current complete freedom and relaxation? Moreover, he already inquired as to the whereabouts of the outlaw writ, and Su Xing was preparing himself to establish a secret base. Recalling this blooming water divine thunder technique was originally also created by some almighty being. Su Xing wanted to use this as a pretext to try. And Suan suddenly understood and smiled. So the young master was originally fretting about this. Suan has a proposition, and does not know if the young master would like to hear it? Don't hesitate to speak. Su Xing nodded. The divine physician in Suan was fairly earnest in her opinion, so it should be not bad. Has the young master thought about stealing it? And Suan's turned, and she had a crafty light smile. Su Xing furrowed his brow. The two girls at his side also had their thoughts jump. That won't work. This sort of great sect not only has supervoid cultivators as overseers, the sect protection array only lets people in but not out. Wu Xinjie rejected without the slightest hesitation. Lin Mei nodded. If going and stealing under the current circumstances the 4 great sword sects' guarded secret was not too risky, then it was still too crazy. Suan, did you think up of something? Su Xing said, suspicious. And Suan smiled. If it was the best thief under heaven, this would not necessarily be a difficult problem. The best thief under heaven. Su Xing's head was unclear. Wu Xinjie suddenly shouted. Suan, could you be referring to her? Exactly her. And Suan nodded. 1. Right arrow curving left 2. And I wonder who could have done that. Right arrow curving left 3. Oh yes. Some luck and a lot of feeling someone up. Speaking of the best thief under heaven, there was only one person that could assume this name in Su Xing's memory. Even if it was among the stars. Even they carried a thief title. Correct. It was the thief star, flea on a drum Shi. The thief star is the one that most unpredictably appears and disappears among the 108 star generals. Finding her traces definitely is not easy. Wu Xinjie shook her head, feeling that Ensuan's idea was a bit lofty into the sky in meaning. The knowledge star had her doubts. Could it be that little sister Yu? Ensuan smiled and nodded. Speaking of this is also a coincidence. This little sister just happens to have had some dealings with Shi Qian. Not long ago, she asked for some injury medication from Suan. Little sister asked her a sentence. She said she would report to little sister if she broke through a mechanism. It has been more than a month now, and little sister has not seen Shi Qian. Suan thinks Shi Qian definitely has run into trouble. The thief star really can be found? Su Xing asked, astonished. Actually, Su Xing's suspicions were rather normal. Liangshan continent was vast, and simply put, the rippling wave kingdoms west had the Cash Mountain overlooking the Thousand Mounts Kingdom, and the Han Martial Kingdom, too, while the east's White Deer Highlands bordered the Great Liang dynasty. The south had the Heavenly River and Heavenly Mountain, and just this area had several millions of li. In addition, this was but only a small portion of the Azure Dragon territory. According to what he knew, the Rock Plume Immortal Mountains, 3, just bordering the Vermilion Bird territory, basically just did not have a true end that cultivators could arrive at. It was in such a large place that they could run into the fleeting thief star. And Su Xing felt that this was too hard to believe. Actually, this was not so. The Star Maidens were the 108 stars all descended. Their natures had a sort of exceedingly attractive force. This attraction was just like that sort of instinct that drew a moth to a flame. They could not help but approach the other star generals, similar to how the skies and the 108 stars approached one another. And Suan took herself to be the 108 star maiden's sole divine physician. Her medical arts were superb, her disposition kind, and she had not even signed a contract. Her relations with the normal star generals were also surprisingly reasonable. Lin Yingmei asked, "Then where is she?" Grindstone Mountain. Grindstone Mountain was located at the Great Liang Dynasty's Thistle Prefecture. 5, sharing a border with the Rippling Wave Kingdom in a remote area. Its topography was similar to a whetstone, and thus the mountain received its name. It had not any quirks unto itself, and it was far from comparison with the likes of the Bright Sun Ridge, 6, and the 5 Platforms Mountains, 7, which were unmistakable within their own 2 countries. In the forest of luxuriant foliage, suddenly, the beautiful figure of a woman rushed out. Raising her head up to the thick foliage covering the sky, the beautiful figure ran straight ahead, and from behind her came a shaking sound. Rustling briefly, something resembling a tiger or a lion, a fierce beast with its entire body, made from iron, pounced out. This fine iron fierce beast's 8 sharp claws and fangs unceasingly tore at that figure. The beauty stepped onto a slab of rock with a leap, turning her body very quickly, raising her white hands, and then 2 flying claws mutually crisscrossed, biting into the fine iron fierce beast's forelimb. The girl firmly pulled and restrained it, her body beautiful as a swallow. She leapt and fluttered about within the forest, and along with her fierce shout, that fine iron fierce beast was suddenly hoisted into the air by her bare hands without any aid. With a leap that covered several tens of meters, and the release of those claws, that fierce beast fell downwards with a rumble, rumbling as it smashed against a sharp rock, releasing the crashing sound of shattering. This young lady is truly tired to death. The girl wiped her sweat, approaching that fierce beast. And it was at this time that the dying fine iron fierce beast violently launched its counterattack, freezing the girl in place. A cold light suddenly shot towards the fine iron fierce beast, and a graceful figure landed upon the fierce beast's back. Clenching a long spear in both hands, she directly ran through the monster right where it was. SFX rumble. The steel beast then lost the breath of life. The girl stared dumbly at the person's silhouette that was like a goddess descended. Coming proud, tall and straight, her heroic spirit was matchless. This much carelessness is definitely not like your style, Shi. 9. A gentle voice called out. The girl turned her head, and from within the forest walked out a man and 2 women. In a split second, the girl who helped her kill the monster recalled her spear. And with an easy movement, she then returned to that man's side. Suwen. The girl was surprised. This single man and 3 women happened to be Su Xing, and the rest. The girl gazed at the approaching people, her countenance carrying distrust as she watched Suwen. Young master, this is the best thief under heaven that Suwen spoke of. And Suwen made the introductions. Su Xing was also inquisitively sizing up the thief star. An oval-shaped face, slender phoenix eyes, cherry-red lips, and a pleasant manner. She wore a skin-tight, black short-sleeved shirt, and tied around her spotlessly white neck was a flashy black scarf. The real treat for Su Xing's eyes was the girl's slender pair of legs unexpectedly wrapped in black fishnet stockings. The sex appeal was indeed incomparable. Just what is going on? Suwen, could it be that you've betrayed us? Did you bring your master here to kill me? The thief star Shiqian's entire body raised its guard. Her destined star weapon, the hoodwinking flying claws, began to stir. Don't misunderstand. And Suwen walked over to her to explain. On the other side, Wu Xinjie said with a strangely gentle voice. What is the thief star hiding here doing? Su Xing and his group curiously looked at the fine iron fierce beast that was only just chasing Shiqian for the kill. It did not seem to be an ordinary demon beast, for its entire body had joints that were obviously manufactured. 10. Its exterior was a layer of steel, making Su Xing recall the mechanical monsters from movies. A mechanical beast. 11. Wu Xinjie stared blankly. Mechanical beasts were one type of strange animal in Liangshan continent originating from the Vermilion Bird Territory's foreign divine machine clan that used every sort of steel and fine stone to manufacture demon beasts. The core power was a demon beast soul. This sort of mechanical beast was very popular in Liangshan continent because their operation did not require complex procedures. It required only a simple setup with divine intent to combine with the mechanisms to suffice. These acted as a sort of vital strategic weapon for several imperial families and officials. The first appearance of mechanical beasts still needed to be traced back to the Vermilion Bird Territories, 100 Deviances War. 12. It launched against the Azure Dragon territory. At that time, the mechanical beasts could be said to have astonished every single Azure Dragon cultivator, putting themselves firmly into the limelight. However, because of this sort of strange animal, the Divine Machine clan suffered extinction, its remaining clansmen escaping every which way. Although every sort of mechanical sect was established, their publicity was already no longer what it once was. Strange, why would a mechanical beast appear on this mountain? This was discovered by this young lady, and don't you all think of snatching it away? Shiqian leapt onto that lion mechanical beast with a few steps. Seeing a pile of broken white crystals, she sorrowfully wailed incessantly, incapable of looking at Lin Yingmei. How could you damage its soul? This young lady was prepared to take and use it. Lin Yingmei coldly said. This servant wanted to ensure its death. The cores of mechanical beasts that conceal the soul are all to be strictly protected. You unexpectedly penetrated it with a single spear. Just which star are you? Shiqian made a powerless accusation. Shiqian, since you are the thief star, Xinjie does not know if you could help our young master go steal the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique, after which we definitely will give you a significant remuneration. Wu Xinjie said. The thief star looked at Suwen. Pointing at Su Xing, she said, Suwen, can you really trust him? He is but indeed a star master. And Suwen showed a relaxed smile. The thief star was helpless. Eccentrically sizing up Su Xing, her eyeballs suddenly rolled. Did you really contract the knowledge star? Is there a problem? Su Xing asked. The thief star giggled, shaking her head. No problem, definitely no problem. Having this young lady help you steal whatever true technique is possible. However, you must also do something for this young lady. This is very fair. Su Xing nodded. This young lady likes your straightforwardness. The thief star flee on a drum patted Su Xing's stomach, saying carefreely, as long as you help me enter the Mo clan ruins to obtain the Mo attack treasure box. 13. This young lady will agree to help with your matter. Mo clan ruins? 14. Wu Xinjie exposed her astonishment. 1. Right arrow curving left 2. Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Right arrow curving left 5. Right arrow curving left 6. Right arrow curving left 7. Right arrow curving left 8. Right arrow curving left 9. Right arrow curving left 10. A robot, really? Right arrow curving left 11. Right arrow curving left 12. Right arrow curving left 13. Right arrow curving left 14. This grindstone mountain unexpectedly has a hidden Mo clan ruins? When the Divine Machine clan fled the Vermilion Bird territory and wandered the 3 realms, a portion of them arrived at the Azure Dragon territory. To honor their homeland, Black Earth, they were known as the Mo. These people were also called by the names Mo clan and Mo race. It was just that their conception of the manufacture of mechanical beasts was such a feat that at the Azure Dragon territory, they also received the greed of worldly powers. They developed for approximately less than 3 generations, and from then on, their traces disappeared. The present Great Liang Dynasty's state teacher, the virtuous Mo Shangxian, too, had extremely little Mo clan blood remaining in his veins. The Mo clan altogether left behind many ruins in the Azure Dragon territory. After the star duels began, these ruins then dispelled the clouds to see the light of day. 3. Shiqian stared at that mechanical beast's broken soul with a tone of pity. You're finding this to do what? Lin Yingmei opened her mouth to ask. Legend says the Mo clan mechanisms are matchless under heaven. As a professional thief with a sense of morals, this young lady of course has the integrity to go try and experience these mechanisms personally. Shiqian shook a scallion white finger, with a look of, you do not understand. Lin Yingmei very forcefully glanced askance at her, truly finding her own path to doom. Wu Xinjie cut in. Do you take this knowledge star to be extremely easy to fool? You must have come for the Mo clan mechanical arts, correct? The knowledge star glanced at Shiqian disdainfully. How could this careful thought possibly elude her? The girl, her scheme seen through, cursed. Sister knowledge star, you can't always feel that I, the little sister, pursuing self-preservation is a sin. Furthermore, helping the Mo clan develop the mechanical arts is also a good thing. As a conscientious thief, you sisters should be encouraging me. Su Xing laughed. This thief star was actually very nimble. All right then, I'll oblige you. Little sister has stayed on Grindstone Mountain for a month, and still has not broken through the Mo clan's mechanism? And Suan asked, surprised. The thief star spread both of her hands helplessly. Sister, you did bring injury medicine? And Suan then brought out a bag and applied it for her. Shiqian had no choice but to say, the Mo clan mechanism is truly too formidable. This young lady spent a month, yet had no way to break through the surroundings to enter the ruins. How could you, a single thief, handle these mechanical beasts? Wu Xinjie felt that she being able to live through that was already amazing. Within her impressions, Shiqian was only ordinary in military strength, but her thoughts were meticulous, with top-notch light movements, possessing exceptional thievery arts. These had no use as fighting strength. Say it in any way, but the mechanical beasts all used demon beast souls as a driver. Put another way, these mechanical beasts could also be counted as a demon beast's other body. In addition, some were constructed from solid steel, and the degree of strength, they had even exceeded what it was when they were alive. Shiqian raised her head, puffing out her chest. This young lady possesses an excellent plan to get rid of them. Isn't that the caveat you implicated in your offer just now, truly an age-old trick? The knowledge star yawned. Have you not thought of signing a contract? Su Xing interrupted the two's argument. 5. Shiqian revealed a very disdaining 6 attitude. Lin Chong is not the only sort of star general that would refuse to sign a contract. This young lady acts a carefree thief that does not want that sort of burden. 7. As a master. Being described as a burden, Su Xing blushed with shame. This servant's young master is not. Lin Yingmei said coldly. Shiqian stuck out her tongue. It seemed she was more fearful of Lin Yingmei. Your young master that contracted with 2-star generals is indeed a rare sight. Ha, ha, Sister Suan, thinking again of offering yourself aid to him? And Suan smiled gently, not even arguing with her. 9. Let's leave. Lin Yingmei, not wanting to waste time, turned and moved forward. Shi Qian asked in a quiet voice. This sister is very imposing, Su Xing. Which sister is she? In short, you cannot utter malicious words against the young master. Yingmei definitely likes young master down to the deepest level. 10. The knowledge star giggled. The thief star and the efficacious star went blank at the same time. The former did not believe that a star maiden could like her contractor down to the bone, whereas the latter knew Lin Yingmei's star general identity, and was thus shocked. The majestic star liked her partner? And Suan perplexedly glanced at Su Xing. The majestic star's body that was ahead of them shook imperceptibly, immediately nonchalantly pretending she heard nothing as she advanced forward. Let's get going. Su Xing urged them, and after they went far away, atop a great tree within the forest, a completely wooden mechanical bird suddenly shook its wings and soundlessly departed. The mechanical bird kept flying towards Grindstone Mountain's abyss, until it finally dropped down onto a long-haired man's finger. Gray hair covered half of the man's face, showing a sort of laughing squint with his eye as he spoke with the mechanical bird. Gongsu 11, how is it? Has Shi Qian obtained something yet? The voice came from beyond more than tens of meters away. A young girl wearing golden armor, and covered in a shirt the color of goose feathers, sat on a piece of rock playing with her fingernails. The thief star is even more of a trash than we had imagined. Using up more than a month, and she still hasn't solved the mechanism. The girl said despicably. Gongsu squinted as he smiled, saying, The thief star found a good helper. A star master has appeared, and it seems there are an additional 3-star generals. What? 3-star generals? The girl froze in place. This is definitely a bit problematic. Let's make a trip back to the gang. Right now this is already something the two of us can no longer handle. Let the sect leader send 100 disciples over, and this time, we'll kill 3 birds with 1 arrow. Gongsu turned his finger, and the mechanical bird fluttered and flew off. Then, a light yellow flying sword descended before them. Gongsu gave a look at the girl, and the girl spun, her beautiful body turning into nothing, followed by a light yellow ray of light leisurely flying towards the bottom of the mountain. 12. The completely oblivious and track thief star Shi Qian was currently setting off, guiding Su Xing and the rest towards the Mo clan ruins. This flea on a drum ran really far, and according to what she said, they would specially lure out the mechanical beasts outside the ruin, and then crush them one by one. Though they had now trekked for half a day and still had yet to arrive. Shi Qian, just how much farther is the Mo clan ruins? Since this young lady doesn't plan on signing a contract anyways, it will do if you call this young lady's true name. This young lady's true name is called Shi Yuan 13. Remember that. The thief star Shi Yuan glanced back. Within the mountain's forest, her footsteps were quick and agile, as if she was treading on level land. Although star cultivator's escape techniques were brilliant, compared with the flea on a drum's light movements, the difference was not small. It was just inconceivable that she could, in a critical situation, avert disaster. Having originally been pounced on by a mechanical beast, perhaps if Lin Chong had not intervened, this thief star could still break away from danger. No wonder she would dare charge at the Mo clan ruins alone. Pass through this grove and we've nearly arrived. Shi Yuan effortlessly walked. Su Xing currently wanted more and more to study the riding sword art. 14. They continued to walk for probably only a moment before they finally exited the forest. In the distance, they saw a very ordinary-looking building that looked like stacked large stones. An open space had been cleared on its outside, and more than a dozen mechanical beasts could be seen currently prowling about. According to Shi Yuan's explanation, this Mo clan ruin was one of several ruins constructed in the Azure Dragon territory, symbolizing their former culture. However, looking at its abandoned appearance contrarily made people feel great pity. The ruins could not do without the Mo clan's proud mechanical arts. For example, Looking at that open space in the building's surroundings, the ground hid many triggers that once touched. Those seemingly lumbering mechanical beasts would then focus their attention on the enemy and launch a frightening attack with the speed of thunder. Shi Yuan originally tasted this and nearly lost her life, nevertheless relying on Huangjia magic to escape a calamity. Right now, this young lady wants to lure them one by one. You all just find a chance to get rid of them. Shi Yuan said. Besides mechanical beasts, does the outside have some other mechanism? Lin Yingmei asked her, her own pupils containing a sort of unordinary light. None. The thief star replied. How? Then there is no need to do more than what is required. Lin Yingmei coldly said. Shi Yuan had not even finished asking, when suddenly, a cold wind blew onto her face, and Lin Yingmei already raised her Arctic Star Spear amidst the thief star's astonishment, coldly going out to kill with an imposing manner. 1 means ink. Right arrow curving left 2. Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Right arrow curving left 5. That's my boy. Let the depravity continue. Right arrow curving left 6. Right arrow curving left 7. Very, very derogatory term. Right arrow curving left 8. Right arrow curving left 9. Right arrow curving left 10. In general meaning to the very depths of something. Right arrow curving left 11. Right arrow curving left 12. Yes, just to confirm your suspicions, she is another star maiden. The yellow light is him. And she has returned to her star nest. Right arrow curving left 13. Right arrow curving left 14. And then he can finally return to the danger zone. Neat, agile and efficient. The basic grade mechanical beasts completely lack the strength to resist under Lin Yingmei's spear techniques. And the Arctic Star Spear swept through those mechanical puppets one by one in clean destruction. At the very end, there was only a pile of scrap iron left. Lin Yingmei's spear technique's brilliance was demonstrated under the exquisite attacks, breaking the mechanical beasts into 4 limbs without a single hole. Yet the all-important souls were spared. This made the thief star that toiled for a month to only draw out the majority of the mechanical beasts receive a great shock. Only when she saw that renowned Arctic Star Spear did she wake up. You are the majestic star Lin Chong. Shi Yuan was unable to conceal her shock. How could Lin Chong sign a contract? She thought this matter had already exceeded her understanding. Lin Yingmei gave her an ice-cold glance, not paying attention to her big fuss. Young master can take these souls for his use. Ah, this originally should have been this servant's. The thief star Shi Yuan opened her pair of eyes wide at Su Xing, launching a lovely pitiful attack. Su Xing rolled his eyes at her. Give them to the thief star. I have no use for them. Although the mechanical beasts were fine and mystical, right now, Su Xing currently put priority on considering the matter of the blooming water divine thunder. He was just not that interested in the mechanical arts, and seeing the thief star with such a pained appearance, taking them away in this manner was embarrassing. Lin Yingmei's actions were truly violent, with more than 10 mechanical beasts collapsing at the first blow. Shi Yuan gratefully received those scattered souls. Her gloom from before swept cleanly away. With someone working in her stead, she could pick up things for cheap. The flea on a drum definitely would not ignore this. After clearing out the surrounding mechanical beasts, everyone then entered the Mo clan ruins. With crumbling fences and dilapidated ramparts, fragmented walls, tiles and bricks, and completely filled with dust, it seemed this ruin was quite old. Where we're going is the main hall in the center. You all must be mindful of what is underfoot, so don't blame this young lady for not warning you. Hee, you'd best hide in the star nest. Shi Yuan carried a sly smile, and she leapt onto the broken walls, flew onto the eaves and walked along the ramparts. Lithe as a swallow, it was just like this that in the blink of an eye, she had covered 40-50 meters. Underfoot. Su Xing felt he did not understand the words of the thief star directly across from them. Lin Yingmei, who was walking at the very front, suddenly whirled her body, avoiding a blaze that abruptly rushed out from within the ground. Just when she sidestepped, it seemed this had already been anticipated, for an iron cage fell to the ground, just happening to trap Lin Yingmei. The girl swept her long spear to easily break the cage, but before she had time to breathe, the surrounding floor suddenly fell away to reveal a deep and immeasurable dark hole. This completely went beyond Lin Yingmei's expectations, and she immediately fell downwards without warning. Yingmei! Su Xing was alarmed. However, as Lin Yingmei was falling, she stuck her spear into a crack in the rock face, thereupon using it to spring upwards, jumping out from the hole of that abyss. Yingmei, careful! Wu Xinjie loudly warned. Subsequently, jets of flame, knife blades, cages, rocks, and every sort of mechanism emerged in succession. There were common steel weapons as well as mysterious earthly fire artifacts and so on. Fortunately, the panther head's reputation was not for show. The girl was like a cheetah shrugging off its chains, pushing through within the mechanisms at lightning speed such that several mechanisms could not even react. Without another moment, Lin Yingmei arrived in front of the flabbergasted thief Star Shi Yuan, and turning her head. "Young master, please be a bit careful." Su Xing nodded. Wu Xinjie stuck out her tongue. "Young master, Xinjie will first enter the star nest to rest for a bit." Giggling, the knowledge star's beautiful figure whirled, and then hid inside the star nest. Su Xing's mind gave rise to the sound of her encouragement. Su Xing smiled. At this time, he saw Suwen standing hesitantly at the edge, all along incapable of treading a step forward. The efficacious star, the divine physician, was more than capable of treating diseases to help patients, whereas intruding into mechanisms, her spirit was willing, but her flesh was weak. "I'll carry you over then?" Su Xing extended a hand in invitation. "This will bring harm to the young master." And Suwen shook her head, retreating a step. "This is only a small mechanism." Su Xing disapproved. A forest of spears, a hail of bullets, and detonations of landmines too were all approaching. How could anything be figured out in this situation? Su Xing did not like to hesitate, and seeing Suwen unable to make a firm decision, he stretched her body across his arms and held her in a princess carry. 3. Suwen's cheeks flushed red slightly, wrapping both her arms tightly around Su Xing's neck. Burying her head, she almost inaudibly told him, "Young master, be careful." Su Xing took a deep breath, fiercely rushing forward. It was just as he was taking a step that the ground suddenly raised countless sharp and coldly glinting blades. A ripping sound filled the air, as these blades seemingly came to life, like a rolling wave coming to kill them. Su Xing used the tips of his toes, taking advantage of these sharp blades to act as springboards. The set of sharp blades had only just left when an air-shattering whistle echoed. Only seeing the round holes in the ground spit out hundreds of lead balls. One look was filled with the scent of gunpowder. Su Xing did not dare to be careless. Tucking in his head, he first and foremost protected Suwen within his chest. As expected, these lead balls had barely rose into the sky when they encountered a gas, igniting it and bringing about an explosion. A space of 50-60 square meters had this sort of heavy thunder bombs. 5. The linked destructive power of the explosions rumbled. Even though star energy protected him, Su Xing could still feel his skin somewhat in pain. "Young master, careful of the front," came Wu Xinjie's alarmed voice. Su Xing immediately drew away. In a moment of peril, he stopped right at the edge as an enormous bottomless pit came from the ground. This Mo-clan mechanical art was far too powerful. Being able to manufacture this sort of abyss mechanism, Su Xing clicked his tongue, stepping on the edge and throwing himself into the air. The shark claw hook snagged the other side, and he swung across. Just at the time Su Xing hugged Suwen to avoid the mechanism, the thief Star Shi Yuan happened to surprisingly inquire as to the matter of Lin Yingmei signing a contract. "Sister Yingmei, did he use some trick to force you to sign a star dual covenant?" 6. Lin Yingmei glanced harshly at her, saying, "This servant will pledge her life to protect the young master." This blatant declaration made Shi Yuan speechless. Contrary to reason, was this truly the legendary soldierly and unyielding majestic star? If other people heard the panther head say these sorts of words, perhaps they would fall over. "Shiqian, have you never thought of signing with a contractor? Because of your capabilities as the thief star, you won't be unable to find a formidable star cultivator." Lin Yingmei asked. 7. Shi Yuan giggled, with an appearance not concerned in the least. "I don't want to. This young lady would hate to give a portion of her own star energy to other people. Acting as a free and unfettered god of robbers is nevertheless the benefit of freedom. This sort of restricting contract is not suited for this young lady. Lin Yingmei did not reply. The thief star Shi Yuan stole glances, unable to keep her eyes off the majestic star, concerned for someone else, muttering, "It looks like what the knowledge star said is true. After 900 years, even the cold Yingmei would take an interest in this sort of thing." Not long after, just as Ensuan cried in surprise, Su Xing carried the divine physician as he crashed his way through the surrounding sets of mechanisms. "Young master, let Suan look at you." And Suan's face blushed a very deep red. She had just been embraced tightly by a man upon his chest, and also passing several times through mechanisms that forced intimate skinship, even though they were only separated by their clothes, and Suan's heart jumped endlessly. 9. As she helped Su Xing examine his wounds, her expression did not raise much concentration. The girls to the side could not help but raise their eyebrows. Wu Xinjie exited the star nest, winking at Lin Yingmei and Shi Yuan. "Suan, I think you're better off offering yourself to him." Tin seeing and Suan examined so carefully, Shi Yuan could not help wanting to make fun of her. It was Suan who brought harm to the young master. And Suan shook her head. "Fine then. We had better first think about how to open this large door mechanism." Shi Yuan made a bitter face. This large door incorporated a mechanism that needs to be solved to open the door. Forcibly open it, and the ruins will instantly collapse. People hate this sort of riddle mechanism the most. "Sister Knowledge Star, you're up." Only then did everyone gaze at the large door. The door was created from an entire immense piece of black rock. Heavy and sturdy, even if Su Xing used all his strength, he was incapable of opening it even a fraction. This door mechanism seemed to have also stumped many people. Spread all across the door were intersecting slash marks, having been hacked and chopped up by countless people venting their anger. Even so, this door was as before, high and mighty, motionless. The thief star Shi Qian was also frustrated to death by this door. Using her light movements body techniques, breaking away from those mechanical beasts was not very troublesome. The problem was that she could not feel out its underlying principles. With no alternative, she could only draw away those mechanical beasts, so that she could have enough time to slowly solve this door mechanism. However, seeing the knowledge star, the resourceful star, right now, Shi Yuan just placed all her hopes on Wu Yong. Su Xing exerted all his strength to try to push it a bit, but exerting all his strength moved nothing. Su Xing then searched once more across the door. Besides the scratches hacked and chopped out of it, the stone door made from basalt had no other marks. Seeing him search so carefully, Shi Yuan dampened his enthusiasm. This young lady is indeed a specialized robber. The things that should have been inspected have already been inspected. The door has concealed a secret compartment inside, but opening this secret compartment needs to be done from the exterior. In other words, this door is hiding a mechanism to open the door. Su Xing nodded his head. Since the thief star said as such, this mechanism was clearly not that easy to find. Looking at this door filled with cracks, Su Xing surmised that the mechanism to open the door perhaps had something to do with these cracks. "Sister Xinjie, have you figured it out?" Shi Yuan blinked her eyes as she watched. "Can't you see young master is thinking?" The knowledge star smiled but did not speak. Su Xing turned his head, and saw Wu Xinjie seemed to have a card up her sleeve. Smiling, he said, "Xinjie, if you have solved this mechanism, don't keep up the suspense." "Knowledge star, you solved it this quickly. Is that true?" Lin Yingmei and Ensuan showed their surprise. Seeing Shi Yuan being so impatient, Wu Xinjie did not keep the others in suspense. Shrugging her shoulders, "This mechanism is right before us. To claim that you're the best thief under heaven, and not perceive even this minor thing." Shi Yuan stuck out her lip. She had stared at this door every day to the point she was about to become blind, and she still could not make out the reason why. Wu Xinjie stood in front of the door, amassing star energy at her fingertips. Then, she made strokes in the empty space opposite the door, and those ugly cracks on the door suddenly had several of the hack marks flash several strokes of white light. Ah! The rest showed amazed expressions. An open character appeared on the door. It was right after this appeared that the stone door slowly opened with a rumbling boom. Shi Yuan slapped her head with an ah! Sister Xinjie is indeed sharp, seeing through this mechanism with just a glance. The thief star greatly admired her endlessly. It seemed that among the slash marks on the door, putting together a few would form an open character, and along with star energy, these crammed cracks would immediately trigger the mechanism behind the door. Afterwards, the stone door opened. How could she not think of this? The Emo clan mechanism is too clever. If the knowledge star wasn't here, who could solve this? Shi Yuan slapped her stomach, glad. My young master is definitely far smarter than Xinjie. Wu Xinjie stuck out her tongue. Shi Yuan just took it as she being modest, saying, Sister is truly considerate of her own young master. Certain arts have their specialists. I too did not think of this. Su Xing shook his head. Entering the ruin's interior, the thief star activated a Taoist light talisman. This ruin was constructed downwards, so everyone descended along the flight of stairs with the thief star at the front. The flea on a drum's excellent perception of traps, and the like could avert the greatest level of encountering danger. They were more scared than hurt as they walked for approximately several incense sticks, when everyone then saw a pitch-black cave mouth, a tunnel entrance that passed an unfathomable chill. Unable to see even her fingers, the thief star threw out a Taoist light talisman. Its script fell into the darkness, engulfed without so much as giving a response. Apparently, this cave mouth had been granted an odd forbiddance that made light talismans useless here. Luckily, the thief star had prepared torches. After lighting a few bundles, and Suwen suddenly glanced upon an inscription on the wall. The Great Corridor. 2. Inside is the Great Corridor? Shi Qian cried out in surprise. This place unexpectedly has the Great Corridor. Looks like the Emo attack treasure box really is hidden here. Shi Yuan rubbed her palms in expectation. Su Xing and his group felt suspicious about her shock, and even some of her excited expressions. What's the matter? Is this Great Corridor very famous? Su Xing asked Wu Xinjie. The knowledge star thought for a moment. It seems I've heard of this before, the 10 great mechanisms. Sister Xinjie is truly versatile and able, even knowing this. Not going and being a perfect robber is truly a waste. Shi Yuan smiled lightly. In order to learn this mechanical art, she worked her heart out researching the Divine Machine clan for quite some time. The 10 great mechanisms were the Divine Machine clan's most formidable peak. Among them was the Great Corridor. Su Xing knew of the Great Wall, but he did not know what this Great Corridor was about. The Great Corridor, as the name implies, is this 10,000 li corridor. No, it could even be millions of li. Shi Yuan explained pompously. 3. What a joke. Lin Yingmei sneered. Constructing a million li corridor underground, even if it was an annihilation stage star cultivator, they could not possibly accomplish that. Right, this engineering is indeed far more frightening than the Shining Moon Longevity Palace. And Suwen firmly believed this was correct. The Bright Moon Long Life Palace was Liangshan Continent's legendary palace. Reportedly, it was established above the 9 firmaments. Even so, the corridor was not as vast as a million li legend has it that during the 100 Deviances Great War. 5. The Divine Machine clan already used the Great Corridor to trap a transforming star of annihilation cultivator for 9 days and 9 nights. In the end, this cultivator fully used all of his star energy to wreck the Great Corridor, until practically nothing was left in order to escape. A transforming star of annihilation cultivator, that was, in an instant the cream of the crop, unable to leave for 9 days and 9 nights, made everyone shiver from the bottom of their hearts. Isn't that equivalent to the Strength 6 astral treasure? Row of portraits upon the memorial river bend? 7. Could mechanical arts be this powerful? Wu Xinjie scoffed. The Divine Machine clan, that seemed truly able to manufacture this sort of mechanism, could not have died out. This young lady has also heard of that. Shi Yuan said. Or perhaps it's only a pretense. Lin Yingmei said. There was definitely this possibility. Shi Yuan was still a bit uneasy. But I heard the great corridor for sure is in a state of lacking light. Then are you prepared to enter further? Su Xing asked. Shi Yuan patted her full chest. Acting as a professional and virtuous robber, it's only natural that this young lady cannot miss such an obviously straightforward mechanism. TSK, then go inside. Su Xing interrupted her lengthy introduction. Do you guys really want to enter? If we're trapped inside, this young lady will definitely not be responsible. The Great Corridor, the Annihilation Cultivator's difficult escape, we definitely differ from that big brother by a length. Shi Yuan very kindly warned. This young lady is fine with being trapped to death, but you have 2-star generals. In Liangshan continent, you are actually a rare genius. Have you decided? Su Xing asked the 2 girls. As the young master wishes. Lin Yingmei said resolutely. Xinjie does not believe a mechanical art has this sort of amazing power. Wu Xinjie implied she was very interested. Su Xing naturally would not shrink back. Finally they fixed their gazes onto Suwen. Suwen, how about you wait for us here? Suwen is better off following together with the young master. If the inside has poisonous miasma, Suwen can promptly neutralize it. And Suwen reflected for a moment, and she was not opposed. Ha, you are indeed a fascinating star master. Shi Yuan patted Su Xing's shoulders, laughing heartily, clear and bright. She proceeded to enter the great corridor. The rest subsequently also entered, and right after they entered with a loud bang, the entrance door was immediately sealed completely. The great corridor's interior was very peculiar, for it was far wider, far larger than they had imagined. The constructed corridor's floor, ceiling, walls and the likes bricks issued a cacophonic kala-kala sound. These stones were just like biting teeth, making the great corridor constantly seem like undulating waves, just like standing on a beach. This was unlike a corridor, rather, it was like the inside of some sort of enormous creature's stomach, where every construct was alive. Su Xing felt endlessly amazed, carefully observing for quite a while, yet he was unable to deduce how these bricks operated. This mechanical art is amazing. Truly mysterious how this was done. And Suwen exclaimed. The thief star Shi Yuan giggled. It's too early to be amazed. This kind of active mechanism, too, is the Divine Machine Clan's most famous mechanical art. If you saw the 10 great mechanical arts ranked number 2 Ancient City of War, 3, then wouldn't you be shocked to death? Ancient City of War? There's even something like this? Wu Xinjie was puzzled. The Ancient City of War was the Divine Machine Clan's active mechanical arts pinnacle work. Constructing a type of mobile castle for the purpose of besieging towns and seizing strongholds, it practically appeared to be a god tool that conquered every obstacle. After hearing what they said, Su Xing felt this Divine Machine Clan could be considered specialized scientists in Liangshan continent. The Su Xing who originally felt no interest towards these machine clans could not help but feel curious about their manufacturing capabilities. 5. His thoughts rested on the ancient city of war crossing Liangshan continent, and Su Xing felt this was eye-catching. Since they're this powerful, could they really have made a million-li corridor? And Suwen had some worries. Since we've entered, let's investigate. The million-li corridor better not disappoint this young lady. Shi Yuan was already eager to start. Brimming with a sense of challenge, this thief star completely did not know danger. However, this manner also made Su Xing feel very relieved. Daring to agree to go to the blooming water sword sex-guarded secret was not just hot air. A mountaintop in the vicinity of Grindstone Mountain, the man with long hair covering half his face, Gong Su, was currently conversing with his wooden bird. A green light abruptly flew over from the horizon. This green light instantly approached, arriving above him in the blink of an eye. Surprisingly, it was a green willow raft. 6. And the wooden boat was seated to capacity by men and women wearing brown robes, their hands carrying small yellow banners. Standing at the bow of the boat was a lanky figure, a man with a wide-sleeved overcoat draped over him. Spotting Gong Su, he stepped with his foot, vertically dropping the arc downwards, falling onto the surface. Those men and women jumped off one by one, and the arc transformed into a green light that shot into his astral bag. Brother Gongsu, I've waited long. The man laughed. Elder brother Gongyang, 7, is it just these people? Gongsu glanced at these disciples. Their cultivations were all stardust late stage, with only a small few having entered nebula stage. 8. I couldn't help delaying brother Gongsu's plans. The sect master indeed called for the 1,000 disciples nearby. Don't mind that their cultivation is low. They are all machine hall's outstanding disciples and seniors. Big brother definitely rushed the wind-swayed raft. 9, with not the slightest delay. Gongsu nodded. The 1,000 machine gang was located at the Vermilion Bird territory. Being able to rush over this many disciples was not easy. Thank you for your troubles, elder brother. Let's go then, to prevent a sudden change in the situation. I don't know just what urgent matter this is. On the road, Gongyang asked him concerned. It was because Gongsu found the MO attack mechanism records trail that he hurried over to the Azure Dragon territory. Their group of disciples acted as backup, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Hearing of Gongsu's gathering, Gongyang urged his own supreme great artifact wind-swayed raft to rush over until it was travel-worn. He was afraid they would not be able to find them, and Gongyang also worried this matter would be known by the Azure Dragon territory's other sects. Otherwise they would have had a thorny problem. Elder brother can relax. This time, your brother wants to hit a huge jackpot. Gongsu lightly smiled, briefly explaining the whole sequence of events, how they found the thief star, and the matter of how they used her to go open the Mo clan ruins. If it is as brother Gongsu says, could the 3 girls that man is bringing all be star generals? Gongyang's expression was grim. Elder brother Gongyang is being silly. How could a star master bring 3 star generals? Tin Gongsu smiled. 2 star generals was unimaginable, and 3 star generals was unprecedented in Liangshan's ancient star duels. Gongsu guessed of the 3 girls. Only 2 were true star generals, since they were able to find the thief star, explaining that among them was a star general that was insignificant, a star maiden without any military strength, and was merely so. The one that worried Gongsu was the girl that grasped a spear and eliminated the mechanical beasts the moment she acted. Within the star maidens, those with a spear as their destined weapon often had extraordinary martial prowess. Isn't there still another star maiden? The other in the light blue shirt and skirt is probably a maid or such, not worth mentioning. Gongsu was resolute. If Wu Xinjie knew of this, she would likely be angered enough to spit blood. Liangshan's ranked number 3 knowledge star had unexpectedly been considered a maid not worth bringing up. However, Gongsu's judgment in this way could not be blamed. Wu Xinjie deliberately behaved that ambiguously towards Su Xing incessantly, so Gongsu could only think as much. A star general that dubiously attended to her own young masters' needs was like a star master contracting with 2 star maidens, rare as a phoenix feather. Brother Gongsu, can you be sure? Encountering 3 fiend stars at the same time, Gongyang was a bit scared and on edge. A gold light floated behind the currently flying sword, and the golden armored girl appeared, bringing an attitude that hardly conceded defeat. As long as this SWA 11 is here, myself will protect young master absolutely safely. Gongyang laughed. How could he forget his own brother was also a star master that would make others envious? However, elder brother is still a bit unclear. Gongyang. Brother, please speak. Why did you use that thief star to open the mechanism? Could it be that killing her was not as good? Elder brother Gongyang is somewhat unaware. I fear the Mo clan ruin this time is genuine. Gongsu shook his head. Gongyang gasped in surprise. That golden armored girl coldly interrupted. I and young master already went in and came across a mechanism before we had no choice but to withdraw. Don't tell me you're saying? The Great Corridor. Gongsu narrowed his eyes. Gongyang was frightened. The 1,000 disciples were blood of the former Divine Machine clan after their split. They naturally knew about the Great Corridor's might, and if the sect master came, even the sect master would consider this carefully. Then, what we fear is going and making a trip in vain. They are unable to escape. At that time elder brother and I will go pick up the basket, ha ha. 12 Gongsu laughed facing the wind, his long hair dancing in the breeze. The girl standing behind him did not utter a word, that golden pupil looking pensive, brimming with gravitas. Meanwhile, Su Xing, Shi Yuan, and the rest at last tasted the great corridor mechanism's might. 3 days. They traveled in this corridor without rest for at least 3 days. During this time, there were innumerable stairs passing through up and down. Every time, it led them to believe they had glimpsed hope. Yet every time, there was an endless corridor. At the very beginning, Suwen and Wuxia were even very interested and admired these moving stairs that were like waves. As time elapsed, they had already lost their spirits. Seeing those wriggling walls and floors made them feel disgusted, wishing that they could shatter this corridor with a kick. Walking for quite a while, everyone again sunk down to rest. Continuing to walk like this without rest was indeed somewhat physically and mentally exhausting. Even Shi Yuan felt impatient, and the thief star had been somewhat enthusiastic. Having already lost her interest in researching the great corridor, her entire head right now was thinking evil thoughts. How could this world have people so disgusting that they would construct a corridor without an end? This young lady wants to run into a wall. We've already gone 3 days without an end. This is basically a prison. This young lady is disgusted to death. Shi Yuan said, disgusted. 13 If they were not star generals, with their special natural constitutions, they would have else starved and thirsted to death in this corridor. Lin Yingmei struck the wall. These walls had yet to stop squirming, due to being granted some sort of forbiddance. With their current strength, it was hard to damage. Could it be that they really would trapped in this place like that transforming star of annihilation cultivator? Thinking of this sort of possibility, Lin Yingmei shuddered with fear. She instinctively went to see her young master. 14 With a look, the majestic star then tightly pursed her lips. Su Xing at the moment was currently whispering beside Suwen's mouth. Within the feeble firelight, she saw the divine physician's face was red, through and through. That was called a dandy's leisure. 1. Onomatopoeia for clacking. Right arrow curving left 2. Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Hey guys, how called? He wants his castle back. Right arrow curving left 5. I think he wants his jet back. Giri Giri AI. A keen eye borderline. Right arrow curving left 6. Right arrow curving left 7. Right arrow curving left 8. You're about to get fucked, baby. Black Lagoon. Right arrow curving left 9. Right arrow curving left 10. Congratulations. We have a new winner for the prize of having his mind blown. Right arrow curving left 11. Well, that's a peculiar name. Right arrow curving left 12. He just means he'll make an easy catch. Right arrow curving left 13. Yes, we get you're disgusted. Please choose a synonym. Right arrow curving left 14. A right arrow curving left 15. And there you have it. It seems he truly is depraved. Sister Xinjia, you said how could people have really constructed such a long corridor underground? Shi Yuan squatted where she was, hanging her head in dejection. When we entered, a certain someone seemed to have said she liked this sort of obvious and straightforward mechanism the most. Wu Xinjia said in ridicule. The thief star's mouth sank. This is absolutely not a mechanism at all. As long as you know. Wu Xinjia gazed at this strange great corridor, always feeling something was slightly off. Constructing a several million li corridor underground was simply impossible to accomplish, but continuously walking for this many days, yet not seeing the end, it seemed as if they had entered into a clump of fog. The knowledge star vaguely felt that this place definitely had some sort of difficult-to-solve oddity, but she honestly could not think of just there the problem was. Wu Xinjia spotted Lin Yingmei staring wordlessly at Su Xing smiling inwardly. She elegantly walked over. Young master, what were you and little sister Suwen secretly talking about? Only borrowing Suwen's spice bag for a bit. Su Xing chuckled. All this time, young master still really has a feeling of leisure. If young master is really depressed, you could have sought Xinjia. Xinjia is also very tired and bored. The knowledge star was like a water snake, climbing onto Su Xing's shoulder, sticking out her tongue, slightly panting, whispering. Young master Su Xing, do you know what is going on with this great corridor? Xinjia feels there are some oddities. I more or less have a clue. Then this time, I really need to make a request of young master. Wu Xinjie abruptly moved her head very close. Her beautiful and sensual red lips kissed on top of Su Xing's mouth, a fiery and arousing kiss. 2. The ensuing, who was right to the side, was dumbstruck. Her face red. She backed a few steps away from the two, lowering her head. The heated kiss ended, and within the firelight, Wu Xinjie's luminous 3 pupils floated around, full of tender feelings. They were brimming with a sentiment that would make people restless. What are you guys doing? Shi Yuan cried out in alarm. Wu Xinjie gave her a healthy look. Never seen a kiss before? Knowledge star you. You unexpectedly. The thief star almost shrieked. The resourceful star unexpectedly would so boldly kiss with a man. This was completely beyond her expectations. Sister Lining Mei. She originally had wanted to go inquire with the majestic star, but the latter's attitude made her even more unable to conceal her shock. The panther head seemed to have grown accustomed to this sort of situation, and was aloof. The opposite looked at Wu Xinjie and Su Xing's heated kiss, a bit of jealousy within her eyes. We had better leave this place first then. Lining Mei's face expressionlessly interrupted her. The majestic star looked around this wriggling corridor, her eyes deeply locked. This great corridor is extremely strange. We'd best move quickly. Walk here, walk there, it's all the same. Too annoying. When the great corridor was mentioned, Shi Yuan immediately became like deflated ball, dispirited. This kind of great corridor mechanism was completely different from what she thought. She originally believed the interior concealed an array, charm or the like. As it turned out, not only was it missing this, even the most simple pitfall mechanisms were not seen. From start to finish, they only saw the surrounding walls moving. Let's go. We can find the exit in just a moment, Su Xing said to her. The thief star twitched her mouth. If she were to believe in an unfaithful man that seduced Sister Suwen, and even passionately kissed with the knowledge star, then that really was too stupid. If young master says we're at the exit, then we'll definitely arrive at the exit soon. Wu Xinjie covered her mouth as she laughed up her sleeve. Shi Yuan pouted and blurted out a few noises. She seemed to be saying, as expected, even if it is the knowledge star, a woman in love is blind. The man and 4 women in the pitch-black corridor again continued to walk forward for a while. It was not at all like what Su Xing said about seeing the exit. On the contrary, the endless darkness was still unending, giving a person a sort of suffocating oppression. This corridor seemed to never stop and was endless, and the thief star, flea on a drum Shi Qian, was already about to give up and stop trying. Incessantly complaining, the best thief under heaven unexpectedly was about to be trapped to death in here. Truly an unfitting death. Suddenly, Su Xing ceased moving forward, facing his head upward as he sniffed in the air, showing an expression of clear understanding and relief. Master, young master. The rest were puzzled. Indeed, this great corridor is very fascinating, so it's no wonder Xinjie was deceived as well. The one who invented this was truly amazing. Su Xing laughed. Wu Xinjie and Lining Mei glanced at each other face to face, a smile flitting across the corner of their mouths coincidentally at the same time. They were fully aware of Su Xing's character, knowing if he said as such, then that meant yet another unfathomable puzzle had been solved. Young master, in the end, what is going on with this great corridor? Lining Mei could not help but ask. I see this 10,000 li corridor is the 10 li corridor, more or less. 10 li corridor? All the girls' faces showed doubt. Su Xing, you definitely have been choked mad. Shi Yuan disdained. We've walked this many days, several thousand li have already been covered. We're only repeatedly walking the same road. Su Xing shook his head. Are you saying this corridor is circular? Shi Yuan was powerless. We aren't idiots. If it really was a circular corridor, then we already would have felt it. Su Xing knew his explanation was rather long, so he summarized. Just now, I borrowed Suan's spice bag, intentionally saturating the air with its fragrance. It's reasonable to say that if we aren't walking the same road, these aromas could not possibly show up. However, Su Xing sniffed. The girls moved closer, and sure enough, they smelled a faint burst of sandalwood. A coincidence? Shi Yuan said blankly. It's not a coincidence. We definitely have been walking the same road. And you'd understand if you think about it. Building the Great Corridor underground. How could the Ink clan possibly have such a great remarkable ability? So the simplest method is to join a corridor from head to tail, and let us walk on endlessly. Su Xing gestured. The girl blinked. She could not conceive how they could arrange interconnecting paths, yet not letting them perceive it. Su Xing thought for a bit, and just took out a talisman, and then he tore the talisman into a rectangle. He turned a short end around 180 degrees behind, and stuck it together with the other short end, thereby forming an 8-shaped loop. The girls were amazed to discover this originally completely unlinked paper had its two sides inconceivably linked together. So mysterious, and Suwen cried out in surprise. Su Xing, how did you come up with this? Shi Yuan asked astonished. The Mobius strip. 5 Su Xing shrugged his shoulders. It appeared mysterious, but on Earth it was actually very well known. It had a special formal name, Mobius strip. It was a topological structure, and anyone with a bit of math education knew about it. The Mobius strip was a sort of space partition without an interior or exterior, namely, its front side had a back side, and its back side had a front side. It's like a yin and yang mixing process, truly hard to believe. Wu Xinjie gasped in admiration. With this sort of mechanism that exploited mathematical principles in its design, it was only normal that Wu Xinjie could not guess through this mechanism. But could only this much really make us blindly walk for 4 days? Shi Yuan was suspicious. And so, this was the Great Corridor's true nature. Its active walls and floors were not to show off the corridor's strangeness, but to change the surrounding environment. On a Mobius strip, the link had a crossing. Exploiting this active mechanism to manufacture differing degrees of elevation. Doing it in this way would not make people feel they were repeating. The active floor also had the advantage of preventing a person from making a seal, because no matter who continuously walked for several days, they would all give birth to the feeling of making no headway. If a seal was written down, these active walls would then thoroughly erase these seals' existences. So young master, just now when you and little sister Suwen were speaking, is it because you made your seal in the air that it was not destroyed? Lening Mei had an epiphany. 6 Su Xing nodded. Not only that, but the mechanism's light-deprived state was also meant to make those entering lose their sense of direction. Inside darkness, humans' perception was most easily lost, and divine intent had no way of preventing this. Originally I thought, strange, since this was a mechanism meant to hurt people, why specially arrange this? This is exactly for the purpose of giving those that enter a certain psychological suggestion, making them believe the corridor inside definitely has 10,000 li, thereby lowering their guard. Shi Yuan's face turned red. She felt that Su Xing was talking about her, and she said in denial, psychological suggestion what? This young lady has never heard of that. However, since you say it with such certainty, then where is the exit? This place definitely has an exit, so don't say there isn't. This young lady investigated clearly. After we pass this corridor is the plaza. But we currently haven't seen the exit at all. I'm afraid the exit is exactly where we came in. Su Xing wrinkled his brow tightly. His words left the girls feeling more and more wonder. Su Xing's explanation was because this corridor was created following a special rock and forbid dance amalgamation. Making a breakthrough required maximum power. According to his theory, this Mobius Great Corridor was interlocking loops. It was impossible to incorporate an exit, so the sole possibility was the rumbling door from when they just entered. That should be the only exit. Shi Yuan was confused. Mulling over this for so long, we just need to go back. Nope. If these walls can move around, then that mechanism can move too. Su Xing said to them, let's search for it. Together with that sealed stone door from when we came in, there must be the exit. Everyone immediately busily searched within the Great Corridor. As expected, not long after, Lening Mei found this mechanism inside a moving rock. This stone door moved just as Su Xing said. A mobile exit. No wonder they could not find it after walking for such a long time. Pushing hard on the stone door, the stone door opened with a rumble. However, Outside the door was thick soil, and the stone beneath was endlessly changing. It seemed the entire great corridor was active. Everyone just waited outside the stone door. In the empty space beneath, a space sunk in, and Su Xing gave the order to jump. They afterwards dropped down from above. By the time they were firmly on the ground, they knew at a glance that they already truly walked out of the corridor, arriving atop a plaza. Su Xing raised his head, giving endless praise. This mechanism was honestly too awesome. Sister Xinjia, could it be he is truly far more incredible than you? Shi Yuan blankly asked. It's only psychological riddles, and such that I'm good at, nothing more. Incredible is out of the question. Su Xian shook his head as he said calmly. Shi Yuan fearfully looked at Su Xing. What holy land do you come from, even being able to solve this sort of mechanism? Recalling right now about the Mobius strip, and the psychological suggestion things he spoke of, these were terms she had never heard of. As long as you follow young master, you will discover young master is even greater than what you think. Wu Xinjie said very ambiguously. This young lady is actually a little tempted. Pity that the young master won't favor star generals like us, right, Sister Suan? Shi Yuan placed both her hands against the back of her head, sticking out her towering chest as she stretched her body. And Suan lightly smiled and went, Anne. There isn't any sort of favor or disfavor. I don't like your star duels that much either. Su Xing shook his head, earnestly speaking. Suddenly, I feel a bit envious of my sisters. Hearing Su Xing's words, Shi Yuan giggled. The ruins plaza released tremors that were like an earthquake's. A massive fist blew a deep hole into the wall with a rumble, and Su Xing, Lin Mei and the others loudly dispersed as rubble violently shot out, filling the sky and splashing. A 3-zhang tall, its entire body made from copper, massive mechanical machine man swung its heavy fists. The sound of scraping metal resounded in this big of a cavern. A copper man puppet, one of the divine machine clan's 10 great machine arts. They did not think on this plaza there suddenly would be this terrifying mechanical doll. The destructive power of that fist perhaps would not be dared received directly by nebula stage star cultivators. The copper man puppet guarding the outside of the shrine was awakened as they stepped inside the boundaries of the shrine. Because there was not anyone to control it, the copper man puppet's attacks were utterly crazy, seemingly adding more strength than it had done in the past. Wu Xinjie and Suan promptly evaded already while Su Xing and Lin Mei assumed the role of attracting the copper man puppet's attention. The thief star Shi Yuan was actually like a fish back in water among the attacks. While the copper man puppet's attack power was formidable, conversely, the speed was relatively sluggish. Her light movements body techniques were sufficient to sidestep away. You guys hold off this copper man first. I'll first go search out the things that controls this copper man. Shi Yuan yelled among her dodges. With a flip, she dropped onto the copper man puppet's arm. Then, she leapt and flashed across, thereby breaking through the copper man puppet's obstruction. The copper man puppet had thought of turning around and attacking her, but Su Xing and Lin Mei's attacks had already contained it. SFX resounding noise. The hardness of the copper man's armor plating was far beyond expectations, as artifacts could only pound tiny dents into it, which was not much at all. You'd better be quick, Su Xing said to himself. Its twinkling pair of red eyes swept around, and the copper man puppet slowly turned to face Su Xing's direction. The ear-piercing sound of metallic scraping violently resounded, as it already stepped over with large strides. Its tremendous body possessed a frightening weight, with every step causing the earth to shake. This cavern's rocks were shook down, clattering, almost as if it collapsed at any time. Will something happen to the young master? And Suan anxiously asked. Wu Xinjie broke into laughter, feeling that the efficacious star was more concerned than herself was. Lin Chong is here, so nothing will happen. However, I truly did not think that this place would even have a copper man puppet. The firebolt sword's fire lightning was only slightly obstructing the copper man puppet's pace, and the explosive lightning fire merely gave rise to a depression, almost like scratching an itch. Seeing the artifact's attack, Su Xing again tried to use close-quarters attacks. which was also a completely lacking method. His expression was completely cold. Su Xing had a kind of helpless feeling against this sort of extremely hard mechanical doll. It was not the same as fighting a star cultivator. This copper man puppet's exoskeleton had been refined with steel rebar-like bones. Ordinary magic power basically was incapable of penetrating it. It practically was an exceedingly hard-to-chew bone. The sound of a touch. Lin Yingmei blocked with her spear horizontally, directly resisting the copper man puppet's heavy fist. The majestic star's face did not change expressions as the ground beneath her feet split into cracks in an instant. A strong whirlwind gave Su Xing no choice but to retreat a few steps, seemingly like a fiery star soaring through the air. By means of the immense recoil, she had already fiercely rushed upwards. The powerful strength brought with it an extreme speed, and the spear light transformed into a cold line shooting straight up. Ignoring the copper man puppet's immense oppressive feeling, Lin Yingmei's eyes shot forth a cold light. The Arctic star spear stabbed onto the copper man puppet's knee with a thrust. SFX, resounding noise. The destined star weapon unexpectedly also could not make contact. This made Lin Yingmei somewhat surprised, but the girl's attack was not ineffective. The spear point's force could not penetrate the copper man's defenses, but actually, this copper man puppet staggered backwards as it fell back towards the rear. During its retreating footfalls, the entire earth just seemed to be in an earthquake, incessantly shaking and rolling out chunks of mud. The copper man puppet's retreat rapidly halted, and its enormous hardly even received any damage. Rocking its lower body, it again proceeded to start approaching towards Lin Yingmei. The sound of that huge body's insides moving became even more loud and clear, making anyone's hair stand on end. And Suwen at the rear definitely was not like Wu Xinjie showing such calmness. Seeing even the panther head Lin Chong unable to penetrate the copper man puppet's obstruction, she actually was very worried. How is it? Su Xing asked from within the storm raised by the copper man puppet. Lin Yingmei's hair floated, her windbreaker-style skirt moving to and fro in the wind. She nodded. Killing it is not a problem. Sure, Yuan said we needed to hold it off. Let's see first what she'll do. Su Xing replied. Let's go together. Under Suwen's gaze, Su Xing and Lin Yingmei once again faced off against that copper man puppet, attacking like a meteor catching up with the moon. The expression upon her face was conspicuously relaxed. Within the ear-piercing noise, a massive fist already ruthlessly crushed towards Su Xing. The immense wind pressure even made Su Xing's short hair perk up. The surrounding dust had been immediately blown in every direction and rose upwards, showing the blow's formidable might. Its speed unexpectedly was faster by a degree, directly booming before Su Xing's eyes. And Suwen's heart had suddenly been seized tight. SFX bang! The cavern shook violently as if there was an earthquake. Inside the pervasive dust and smoke, a shield blocking Su Xing's front had obstructed this fist of the copper man puppet. The shark scale shield had been severely damaged in the Flower Dragon Hall by the blooming water dragon. These days, it barely recovered by a bit, but the copper man puppet's fist was truly difficult to endure. The high-grade artifact was simply on the verge of collapse, almost making Su Xing vomit blood. He promptly hastened through seals, and the shark claw hook directly grappled the copper man puppet's arm. Following along that hook that was like a swing, it pulled Lin Yingmei in order for her to move up. The girl seized the opportunity to leap up several dozen zhang. The majestic star clutched her cold spear, a cold light flowing everywhere. This time, she condensed her star energy into the spear, aiming it at the copper man puppet's weakest neck location. Just at this moment, from the air sounded out a quick and skillful incantation. Transform to my shape, for the sake of my use, heaven and earth of the universe, I order you golden body return. The copper man puppet's two eyes abruptly extinguished, and then its body inexplicably disappeared into thin air. Lin Yingmei went blank, her attack falling into empty space. She backwards into the air, floating downwards and landing on the ground. Su Xing also descended to the ground, looking with Lin Yingmei at each other in dismay. How could such a large doll disappear when told to? Xinjie said that nothing would happen. Lin Yingmei can oppose this kind of mechanism with enough to spare. Wu Xinjie smiled at Suwen and walked up afterwards. Shi Yuan wiped her cold sweat with a sigh, powerlessly looking at Su Xing and Lin Yingmei. This copper man was almost ruined by you too. You received it? Shi Yuan's hand now had in it a copper-colored small banner. An array was carved onto the banner. Just now, it was Shi Yuan reading an incantation and driving the small banner that this copper man would disappear. Shi Yuan smiled craftily. A copper man puppet without divine intent controlling it. With such a prize, this young lady not receiving it would be too unfortunate. She shook the banner in her hand, and a gold-colored light subsequently appeared before her eyes. That copper man puppet again stood straight on the plaza. The difference was that it was already being controlled by the thief star's divine intent. Little sister Shi Yuan truly picked up a great convenience, Wu Xinjie giggled. Su Xing also indifferently smiled. Soon after, the thief star continuously received 3 more copper man puppets. Her way of subduing them was very simple. When these copper man puppets were manufactured, they necessarily had a puppet banner control. Shi Yuan merely found these puppet banners and carved down her own divine intent to finish. It was seriously very easy, and with no effort at all, she possessed 4 powerful copper man puppets. As for Su Xing and Lin Yingmei's assumed mission to stop these copper man puppets, even if Su Xing wanted to receive on for testing, in the field of searching for a puppet banner, compared with the thief stars that sort of excellent item search and stealing methods, he could only have no alternative but to look at the thief and sigh. 1. Passing the plaza. Soon afterwards was the Mo clan ruins terminus, a spectacular hall. Originally, Su Xing had thought the very end would definitely still have some even more extreme mechanism waiting for them. However, it seemed that his worry was unnecessary. Perhaps the Mo clan really had too much confidence in the twin insurances of that great corridor and copper man puppet, for the final hall had its door pushed open as easily as blowing off dust. Inside was an immense room with not a single thing in sight. Surveying what they saw, it was clean except for dust. However, this was not the first time Su Xing saw this kind of puzzle. His first reaction was that this empty and bankrupt hall had an oddity, and he spoke his opinion. The thief star flea on a drum's face revealed a strange smile. She had also thought of this. You underlings just wait here for this young lady to triumphantly return with her arms filled with loot. Shi Yuan was full of confidence, and Suwen was puzzled and could not understand. This place looks like it doesn't have anything at all. I'm afraid that some mechanism may be concealed here as well. Wu Xinjie guessed. It was just that if that was true, this would make things more difficult. The room was excessively huge without a single decoration. The knowledge star only just thought of stepping in and entering when Shi Yuan shouted, "Stay still." What now? Wu Xinjie's leg was suspended in midair before she drew it back. This place has a trap. It will suffice for you to wait here for this young lady. Shi Yuan wrinkled her nose. It did not seem she was joking. Knowing the power of the thief star's stealing arts, the knowledge star did not retort. Only not meeting unexpected failure is good. Hee hee. Shi Yuan entered suddenly with a big stride forward. And it was just when she stepped into the hall that they heard a crashing din akin to a torrential downpour. The room's floor unexpectedly and inconceivably fell downwards, as if the entire room was suspended above the 9 hells. The falling slab dazzlingly rose then fell again, and again such that it was difficult to discern whether this was reality or an illusion. If one was slightly careless, then possibly they could lose their footing and fall into the 9 hells, an end that perhaps was not any better. Falling soul pool array. Wu Xinjie was surprised, having not thought the final mechanism unexpectedly contained a powerful array. This array would make intruders stay above the 9 hells, as the floor would move up and down like an illusion. After, within the blink of an eye, the final form was the falling soul pool. In case an intruder was above the falling soul pool, then that truly was tantamount to escaping from within a calamity. The only way out was precisely to find the proper petal. Su Xing's expression changed. This mechanism was terrifying, and he was unable to take his eyes off Shi Yuan. The girl withdrew her frivolous attitude. At this moment, her expression was grave and stern. They did not dare to take a big breath. Why doesn't little sister Shi Yuan hurry and rush past it? And Suwen asked nervously. Since this sort of mixed array mechanism could be established in this place, then it definitely would not give intruders the time to get through. Su Xing said. Shi Yuan was evidently fully aware of this point. The room's floor rapid disappearance arose, and it was at this time that the thief star's figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, a pitch-black abyss then appeared in the room. Shi Yuan luckily stood atop a slab of rock. Wu Xinjie could not help but cry out in surprise, for this was truly too dangerous. Shi Yuan broke into a smiling expression, and even very leisurely waved her hand. After a brief moment, the falling soul pool continued to move. Shi Yuan's figure hid, and at that disappearing and reappearing floor, she used a perfect stance to push through. With eyes like swift lightning, steps like a shooting star, and another fleeting moment, the abyss once again took shape. Shi Yuan also found another safe rock. Su Xing could not help but admire her. Proving herself the thief star, her posture was nimble, her judgment of opportunities not fussy, and her timing did not stir up any traps. Su Xing took note that the room's two sides had countless holes. Perhaps these would shoot out thousands of arrows all at once. Shi Yuan was inside the falling soul pool array, relying on every change to slowly move forward. Looking around, she had already crossed half the room, and Suwen's heart had risen to her throat. She could not help but grasp firmly Su Xing's hand. Too, seeing her this nervous, Wu Xinjie comforted her. Little sister Suwen, there is no need to be this worried. The falling soul pool array is only an array to trap people. There won't be any sort of injuries. If Shi Qian was truly trapped, we only need to fish her up. But we have to pass through this mechanism all the same, right? Hee. Our young master doesn't fear this at all. Su Xing nodded and answered. Actually, his heart did not have much confidence. The Mo clan's sophisticated minds designed the three mechanisms: Great Corridor, Copperman Puppet, and the Falling Soul Pool. If it was not for his happening to know a bit about the Mobius strip, or the Thief Star's incomparable stealing arts, the result perhaps was indeed hard to say. Looks like Shi Yuan going to steal the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique definitely would not have problems. Wu Xinjie smiled. Needless to say, in a moment, the Thief Star soon afterwards hopped onto that platform. The falling mixing pool array 3, then immediately disappeared. Shi Yuan searched for a moment atop that several square meter platform, and it was not long that she used her hand to press a slate. Hearing the sound of rocks loosening, it seemed she found a secret compartment. Shi Yuan then took from inside the secret compartment a dark gold box, carefully scrutinizing it some. Showing a perfectly satisfied expression, it seemed she had already found the item she was seeking. Then, throwing it towards her astral gem, Shi Yuan also saw two black banners in the vicinity. These ought to be the flags manipulating the array. Shi Yuan snorted, and releasing her hoodwinking flying claws, she broke apart the array banners. The falling soul pool stopped. Boom! The inside of the room suddenly released a trembling noise. Su Xing looked and damn, from that room's densely packed holes resounded song. Let's hurry and leave, he immediately said. Wu Xinjie and Suwen very quickly withdrew from the room. Tens of thousands of sharp swords shot over like a torrential rain. Shi Yuan leapt and spun. Her hoodwinking flying claws cut out an arc that deflected the attacking swords. Su Xing struck a hand seal, releasing the shark scale shield to help protect her body. Lin Yingmei also had her cold spear in hand, chopping forth a spear light that swept apart the attacking swords. Those 10,000 sharp swords seemed vicious, but a star maiden would not see it as posing a threat. Very quickly, Shi Yuan returned to Su Xing's side, and the three people individually retreated. Sitting atop the plaza, Shi Yuan wiped her fragrant perspiration and laughed mightily. Just what did you come to the Mo clan to find? Why is there this powerful array mechanism? Wu Xinjie frowned. She was thinking the same as Su Xing. These three mechanisms basically could not be crossed if other people were substituted. Of course it was this. The dark gold box appeared upon Shi Yuan's hand. 5 old characters, Mo attack mechanism records, were bold and powerful. The box also had a small mechanism, But Shi Yuan very effortlessly solved and opened it. Inside was a black-colored strip of jade. Emo attack mechanism records? Shi Yuan nodded. It recorded many of the Emo clan's powerful mechanisms. Wu Xinjia exposed as expected. You want to manufacture mechanical beasts expression. Thinking about it made it obvious. For the average fighting strength thief star that wanted to protect herself in a star duel, the best way was to expand her own strength. Controlling mechanical beasts was a wise choice, but the knowledge star only felt that this was merely a cup of water on a burning cart. 5 nothing more. When in the future, a few star generals increased their cultivation alongside their contractors, when star energy increasingly strengthened, a few more mechanical beasts would be meaningless. Of course, using these mechanical beasts to bully star cultivators was still quite satisfying. Since you found it, let's leave this place first, then. Seeing Shi Yuan having obtained what she sought, Su Xing very much looked forward to the blooming water divine thunder true technique. The young master's matter, you won't regret this? Lin Yingmei said. Shi Yuan patted her chest. This young lady remarks, a team of 4 horses is hard to chase. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.